What's up, babies? I am EnviroBoy. This is my channel. And I feel like my voice is starting off okay right now, but I suspect that will not be a long-lived state of existence for me today. I caught myself a bit of a cold, wonderfully. Did get tested. It's not COVID, thank goodness, but it's still a cold nonetheless, and it's not fun. It's one of those colds that doesn't really strip me of my energy, but it makes me feel just abnormal. You know, the nose is runny, the throat's a little tingly, and I just generally feel off. And so those are, honestly for me, a lot of times that can seem even worse than if it's a real beast of a cold that just knocks me on my butt, right? Because at least when that happens, I have an excuse to lay on the couch all day, not do anything but watch The Price is Right and sleep. Anyone else do that? Anyone else watch? Is that still considered like the normal thing to do when you're homesick? I remember as a kid, like it was the standard thing when you were sick is you would stay home and you would watch The Price is Right. I have like a strong memory of watching The Price is Right and eating chicken noodle soup, like the canned kind from Campbell's, right? Like that is such a strong memory for me growing up. I don't know if that's a conventional thing for everyone, but I don't know, you can probably already hear it with me clearing my throat and sniffling and everything. I'm so gross today. But I still have the drive and the energy to start the week off right, so I'm going to do everything I can to stay focused and get some writing done. I guess just the caveat is if it's before our usual 4-hour mark and I'm just dead, I'm going to let myself call it early if I need to, but I don't really see a reason not to, you know? I mean, my throat might be sore a little bit, but if we're just doing a nice chill writing stream, it'd be pretty easy for me to just go ahead and talk in a nice low voice, let it be a little raspy. Maybe it'll make me sound even cooler and more soothing. Smolder to the camera. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I mean, my energy is a little low, but my brain has plenty of ideas in it still, and I do know that I still love sitting here writing, chatting with all you guys, so we're going to go ahead and give it a shot today. If there's extra bathroom breaks in there, I apologize as well. One of the best things you can do when you got a cold, there's all kinds of things that you can't, that you can do, and everyone has their different things that they swear by to help a cold move faster. Some people use medications, some people use vitamins, some people use diet. I try to do all of the above because, hey, if it's not going to hurt me, it can only help me, right? So I try to do everything, and one of the things I do is I keep very well hydrated when I'm ill. Because if nothing else, it at least keeps the mucus kind of flowing, which is gross, but it's way better than it getting all stuffy and blocked up, right? If you're not staying hydrated, this is just a pro tip I'm offering everyone, right? If you're sick and you got that, and that stuffed nose, that scratchy throat, right? Drink lots of fluids. Keep that mucus flowing, because as gross as that is better than it getting all like thick and gummy, and that's what makes you really feel miserable and you can't breathe through your nose. Like I still got a good nostril right now, see? There we go. I still got a good nostril, and that makes it a heck of a lot easier to survive a cold. So just, you know, go ahead and write that one down if it means anything to you. Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah. So there might be extra bathroom breaks today. I apologize in advance for that. But that's okay. It's okay. Cold notwithstanding, I'm excited to do some writing. And I'm just going to have us move right over to it. Let's just get to it, right? There's no reason to sit here and dilly-dally about it all. I'm going to have us warm up like we've been doing. I've been liking these mental warm-ups. I say that every time, but it's still true. You know, it's like when you're going to the gym and you need to get a good warm-up in before you can really work out. Like, it's possible to get a workout in without ever doing a warm-up. It might even be a really good one, right? But if you do a warm-up, you know for a fact that you're really getting your body ready to go, and you can just keep going. And I feel like it's the same with the brain. If you get it warmed up, you do some of these creative warm-ups, and you know you're in that creative zone ready to go. Hey, the bar. Oh man, that's a tough one. I'm gonna try and pronounce it. The Bargaritan. I hope I pronounced that right. I feel so bad when I mispronounce people's names. Like, people come up with these cool names that mean something, and then I just sit here. The barge right in. Oh, I get it. Okay, all right, I see it now. I see it there. The spaces, they weren't there. I appreciate the assistance. I always feel so bad. People come up with these really cool names, and then I'm just some scrub sitting here mispronouncing everything like a jerk. But you are right. You're right. Hydration is key, always in life, but especially if you have a cold, like I do right now. So, bottoms up. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna be so sick of fluids by the end of the day. I'm sick of that word in general. Fluids. Oh, what a word. But let's warm up with some of our enchantment stuff that we like to work on, or at least that I like to work on, and people just kind of hang out and go along for the ride with me here. But we're on our level 4 abjuration spells, turning these into our enchantments here. Let's go ahead and pull that up. Oh man, I'm unprepared. I didn't have it already open like I usually try to do. I'm sick. Give me a break. Alright, we're on the 4th level, so let's filter these bad boys here. We just did Aura of Life. The Aura ones are really easy to turn into imbibements because they're really just, like, they kind of already naturally do what an imbibement would do, where they just kind of give off this aura of magic. So they're actually pretty easy to do. Kind of a chip shot for a warm-up here. But we'll do it nonetheless. I'm just going to copy our stuff as it is so we can paste it, and we can sort of, like I always say, massage the language a little bit to get it to work for an enchantment rather than as a spell here. Change our title as well. Bullet point there. Perfect. This is Aura of Purity. Oops. Aura of Purity. Purify me of this cold, because I could use one. Hey! Nailed it. Excuse me. Alright. Purifying energy radiates from you in an aura with a 30-foot radius. First off, because we're doing an item, not a spell. Radiates from the item in an aura with a 30-foot radius. Till the spell ends, the aura moves with the item centered around, wait for it, can you guess? The item. I don't like that it underlines this, and I could either add it to the dictionary, or we can add the space or the dash. And excuse me, I'm gonna go with adding the dash because that's the mood I'm in right now. That doesn't mean anything. That's just exactly what I'm gonna do. That's just what I'm doing. All right. Each non-hostile creature in the aura, including you, can't become diseased. Yeah, see, there we go. Well, I guess that actually wouldn't really do anything for me because I'm already diseased. So I guess it's nice that I wouldn't be more diseased. But beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. Has resistance to poison damage and has advantage on saving throws against effects that cause any of the following conditions: blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned, and stunned. Perfect. All right. I don't think we really need to change a whole lot about this one. Honestly, I think this one is kind of tailor-made. Kind of tailor-made to be an enchantment. Hey, Bardroiden, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you being here. I'm glad you're having a good time. So, yeah, I think this one's really tailor-made to be an enchantment. Like, honestly, it's, like I say, it's a real gimme here. I'm not going to complain about, my goodness. That's what we call rapid progress. We call that a good day. Check it off the list. Could also make undead flea. Okay, yeah. My first thought when I saw flea was like an undead flea, like the thing that gets on dogs. And I'm like, wouldn't that be terrifying? Wouldn't that be terrifying? You wouldn't be able to see it. Like you would. Everyone would be a zombie in no time flat. Oh my goodness, I'm having a hard time selling the jokes with my low energy. God damn this cold. That's why I need to explain them, because otherwise I'm not funny, right? It's funnier when I explain it. No, I think this one's good. I think this is really good. And so an example item, this is really easy. I kind of like the idea of purifying paperweight. the purifying paperweight. A medium-sized stone that is imbued with the power of the spell aura of purity. Boom. And this one we could say, trying to think about exactly, because being a level 4 spell, we can kind of go back to my little guidelines that I made for myself. So for a level 4 enchantment, town or village claim to fame. These are the items reserved for local leaders. They're expensive and typically require a unique request to find. It's not uncommon for the use of one of these items to be the source of fame that helps launch someone into power enough to be elected or appointed as a local leader. Kings and gods may scoff at the item, but the peasants will be in awe of it if summoned before the owner. Easy to special order, but must be ordered through a specialty supplier. Not usually given a special name by the creator, but often the owner will have a nickname for these items. So, considering that, I feel like this is the type of item that, like, you might see. It's like the best doctor in town has one of these, and they'll often set it up in a tent to help, you know, purify it, like a medical tent, to help make sure that people can't get more sick when they come in. It's almost like having a quality HVAC system in a doctor's office, you know, waiting room. So it's like just making sure that people don't get more sick when they show up, right? We'll say often kept on hand by healers so that patients need not worry about becoming more ill when visiting. Which actually, when you think about it, like, that would actually be a really advanced thought process. Like, when we think about like a fantasy setting or a medieval setting, I don't think they really understood germ theory well enough to understand the concept of like, oh, a hospital waiting room is a really good place to get sick because that's where all the sick people go. So we're kind of giving a lot of credit to a medieval society, but you know, it's a medieval society, somewhat tailored into being, you know, more in tune with the sensibilities of modern day times. Like, we, typically speaking, will allow our D&D societies to spend less time going on things like, you know, fake witch hunts because they just generally hate women, and more so on real witch hunts because there's actually a witch who has actually cursed people. we offer a little bit of artificial enlightenment to a lot of these places. For evil, you're so terrifying. But if undead, you make a creature frightened. Lower intelligence than 10 is paralyzed for fear. I don't know. Does an aura of purity make someone as a baseline terrifying? I feel like I mean, I guess maybe to an undead or an evil creature, something that is like the ultimate holiness would be a little evil. So maybe owned by a noble that is tyrant, I'm able to get away with torturing the pet. Maybe it's a pure aura of evil. Maybe we'll see. I feel like we can work on that a little bit. I feel like that's a cool effect, but I feel like that's a different item. But we'll get there. We gotta still get a few sorry, my brain is slow. I've got the cold brain fog. takes a moment here for me to think of things. There, I don't think we need. Oh shoot, you know what? I did do something wrong. I did do one thing wrong. Just that, and we'll put a bullet point. Just the can be put on any item. An item. Put on any item, and that's good. We don't need this anymore. That bulleted still. Okay. Once per day when command word is spoken, as usual. Don't need any reason to do that. Range, it's already kind of in there, but we can say 30-foot radius. Duration, what is the duration of this one? I know it'll have a finite one. 10 minutes, there it is. Duration, 10. It's 10 minutes actually. If I'm thinking about this, I kept on healers. I think actually what I'm gonna do for this, I'm gonna change this because if it's 10 minutes, they're not gonna keep it in the lobby. It's gonna be often kept on hand by healers to ensure that they don't become infected with whatever their patient has. Boom, there we go. So they can just kind of keep it in their pocket. If they're going to someone who's like, you know, particularly what am I trying to say? Like possessed, that's the word. Someone who's particularly horribly possessed and they don't want to catch a little bit of that possession. Might activate that. Aura of Decay. You're inventing entirely new spells over there. Aura of Decay. I kind of like that idea. Aura of Decay. It's basically a hot summer day, and it just helps everything decay. Turns you into the sun on a warm summer afternoon. All right, I think that's kind of all we need for the mechanics here. I don't think we really need a whole lot else, and I don't think we need any additional notes. So okay, so sentient. So remember, if it's good, it's that it'll do something extra for the owner, and if it's evil, it'll do something against whoever the enemy is within the area. So I feel like for an aura of purity, something that's extra good, I feel like we can do something like will help. Let's see here. Against deaf and poison, stun, paralyzed. Yeah, okay, so it already kind of offers the advantage. We'll say will help those within the aura recover from illness or injury. Anyone within the aura will receive 1 HP at the beginning of their turn. So it's like it's not an incredible amount, but you know, I mean, we're talking about a 10-minute thing here, and if each turn is 6 seconds, right? That's 10 rounds per minute times 10. So that's 100. That's 100 HP by the end of it. So it's like if someone activates that thing, basically everyone gets, you know, back to full health, unless you guys are already at like, you know, level 15 or whatever. So I feel like that's actually a really good benefit there, that like will have minimal effect in the middle of a battle, but if used outside of battle, you know, someone who has that item is willing to sacrifice the use of it for the day. That could be like it's basically a free long rest for the time of, you know, for a 10-minute time period. I feel like that's actually really powerful. But I'm okay with that. I think that's fine. It's no, because to me that's not really much different than if we allow them to just, you know, if we make sure that anytime they go to a shop, you know, whatever number of health potions they want to buy are in stock, right? It's not a whole lot different than that. So I'm okay with that. And then for evil, what I'm thinking for this one is, I think what I want to do for this one is, distinguishes between friend and foe. Any enemies to the user will not receive the well, I guess that already says each non-hostile, doesn't it? So I guess that doesn't actually do anything. So maybe what we can do is, let's see here. The other thing that we could do is it's almost like it transfers the illnesses to anyone else. So so maybe what we can do is we'll say tries to transfer negative effects from friends to foes. Any non-hostile that succeeds on a saving throw as discussed above. Let's see here. Actually, hold on, I want to change this. We're going to say when any non-hostile succeeds on a saving throw as discussed above, the nearest hostile creature to the item, and we'll say within the aura, must make a save, or else they will receive the effect. They will receive the effect that was just purified. Boom, there we go. Glove Train from JoJo. I'm not familiar with that show. I'm familiar with it, but I've never watched it. I've never watched it, so I couldn't say, but I'll take your word for it. Oh man, I'm sorry. Ugh. Like we said, hydration is key. Colds are not fun. If anyone is wondering whether or not I recommend getting a cold, I don't. It might be minor in the grand scheme of things, but even so, if you can avoid it, that's my recommendation. Just avoid it. Okay, like instead of being hostile to any creature. Yeah, that's actually kind of what I was thinking. Chaotic. It's just like all like it doesn't distinguish between friendly or hostile. It's just anyone within it both gets the benefits as well as the negatives is kind of what I was thinking for that one. It's kind of what I was thinking. Or actually, you know what I would say is it's not even that like all of them get the negative. It's just like it helps everyone, even if they're an enemy, because it's like it's just too eager to help everyone. If it's lawful, like trying to narrow the effect a little bit, as I usually do. I think what we'll say is, here's what my thought is. When initially cast, the user can target one creature within the aura and have that creature automatically be cured of any of the effects that they would otherwise have to roll to remove. Boom, there we go. No problem. I will definitely have fun. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you being here. Let's see here. So, okay, I think that works. So it's like you just get one person that you can just automatically cure. They don't have to make a save. Right? So you get one freebie because it'll like kind of get that focused extra bit of power there. And then for chaotic, I do like that idea of it being cannot distinguish between friend or foe, or maybe it's just too friendly to want to. Cannot distinguish between friend or foe. All creatures within the aura receive the benefits of the spell, regardless of if they are hostile or not. Boom. There. That's really good. I actually really like this set of sentient possibilities here. I think this is a good collection. I'm into it. Perfect. Okay. Now, if it's cursed, which I like the idea of an aura of purity being cursed. I think that's actually kind of a really interesting and intriguing idea. Kind of the same as the aura of life being cursed. So the extra powerful benefit, but then there's a problematic side effect. So my thought is that this one it'll basically crank up that lawful one. Maybe it's a bigger aura and it will automatically cure any friendly within there of all of those illnesses. And then for this one we did, let's see here. Okay, let's just start with that. The item has a range of 40-foot radius, and any friendly creature within the aura when it is first cast will automatically be cured of all illnesses. Well, we'll say of all statuses that would otherwise need to be rolled for to remove. So it's like it'll automatically do all that stuff. It automatically purifies any friendly within there. The problematic side effect, what I think I want to do with this one is all of the illnesses within must be sent elsewhere. User must select a target. Actually, let's see here. Okay. All the illnesses within must be dissipated in some way. Either the user must actively... So I guess what I'm thinking is, and this might be too complicated, so now that I'm thinking about it, I might want to simplify it, but my thought is that like it stores up all that energy, and like the person has like the 10 minutes, so it's like either they choose a time and place for that energy to be dissipated, you know, and like it'll impact anyone within a 5-foot radius or something like that, so just like a little shock wave where it goes out. Or if they don't do that within 10 minutes, it'll automatically do it no matter where they are, is kind of what my thought is. So it's like must be dissipated. So we'll say all of the statuses that are removed or prevented by the item must have that energy dissipated for the first time. Dissipated. The owner may choose to have it dissipate sooner, or else it will automatically happen when the spell ends. When the energy is dissipated, all creatures within a 10-foot radius will potentially be, we'll say within 10-foot radius, must roll to save against every status effect absorbed by the item. So it's like, yeah, so it's like it'll just dissipate that. It won't do damage necessarily, but it's like you could become any or all of those things. You must make a save for each individual one. And for this, what we'll say is, we'll say the DC 14 to save from each effect, right? Because like I always, basically when there's a DC associated with an item like this, I like to set it up so that like when it's an enchanted item like this, since we don't have someone's like spell casting modifier or whatever to do it, I basically just do 10 plus whatever the level of the spell is. So if it's a cantrip, it's 10 plus 0. And since this is a 4th level spell, it'll be 10 plus 4. So 14. Is just the easiest way to do it. So it's like the more powerful it is, the more powerful the item is, the harder it is to resist it, is sort of the idea. Especially because enchanting higher level things takes longer. It takes more time. It takes more resources. So it all just kind of balances that way. So I like that. And then what it takes to remove, we'll say, must be removed magically if the owner tries to remove or leave the item. they must, we'll say the item will try to, we'll try to give the owner all of the effects it can heal. Owner must save from each individually. So it's like if you try to remove it, it's just going to go ahead and blast you with all those things. And it's going to be like, oh, no. We're in this together now. And it's like, and it'll just like, as cursed items will do, it'll punish you for trying to not be one with it. I think this is good. I think this works because I think this negative, while very negative and could definitely impact a lot of people very negatively, it has enough of a window for someone to be able to try and control it that I can see a player or like a player wanting to still use that item regardless of that, right? And that's always my goal with these items, especially with cursed ones, is I want that negative to be an impactful thing, but in a way that makes someone still willing to take a risk with it, is kind of what my goal is for a cursed item. Because, like, regardless of cursed, whether it's good, evil, sentient, good, evil, lawful, chaotic, whatever, or if it's cursed, if the item, like, my thought is always that the item considers itself to be a teammate with whoever owns it, right? So that item, generally speaking, wants to be with the owner and wants to see the owner succeed, right? So it's not that the item is evil and out to get the owner. It's that it's a dickish item that still wants to succeed with the owner, right? It's just an asshole item. Is kind of the idea behind it. And so same with the cursed. It's like the cursed item is in its own way kind of sentient, and it still wants to find success with whoever the owner is. And so that's where a lot of the punishment comes from. It's less about it will be baseline punishing the owner. It's more so that it'll punish the owner if the owner tries to betray that team that the item perceives itself as being part of. And that's kind of where my approaches to all of that come from. So I think that's a good one. I like that item. I think that one turned out pretty well. Okay, as promised, because of how much. Usually when it's plural, you would say how many, but when it's like, I'm talking about fluids here. Because of how much fluids, because like fluids is a non-finite, so you wouldn't really say many, right? It's the whole 12 items or less or 12 items or fewer thing, right? But at any rate, either way, I'm staying very hydrated, and because of that, like because I have a cold, that's why I'm staying very hydrated. If anyone missed that at the beginning, because of that, I already need to go to the bathroom, and this is just gonna happen a lot. So I will make it very fast. I promise. I'm gonna refill my beverage. I'll be back in like not even 2 minutes. I swear. I appreciate your patience though. All right. I am back. Thank you so much for your patience. I hate colds. Man, I hate being sick. I mean, I feel like that's kind of a redundant statement. Who doesn't hate being sick, right? But like, I mean, just for me, the concept of being sick is such a ridiculous thing because I have a certain amount of like medical training. I have like a master's degree in public health. And so there's a certain degree of like medical training and understanding that I have. And the thing with being sick that is so goofy to me, I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? But like any symptom you feel isn't like, it's not actually whatever it is that you're sick. Well, not always. It depends on the illness. But like for a common cold, right? The things that you feel that make you feel gross, it's not actually the virus doing anything to you. It's your body reacting to the virus. Like the virus will hijack your cells so that your cells make more virus. And that's bad, right? Because that generally speaking means your cells don't use the energy to, repair and rejuvenate and keep you living, right? So your body needs to get rid of the virus. That makes sense. But all of the symptoms are largely your body just going, oh my God, there's something in here, and just panicking and creating all kinds of mucus to make all of it go away. And it's all basically just a physiological panic response. And to me, that always seems really goofy that like our body finds it necessary, our body and our consciousness and our like alertness, our awareness, our neurological system finds it necessary to make that feel like such a miserable thing. I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? Because if you feel miserable, you'll avoid it. It's like you don't want it to feel great, like, you don't want it to have the same amount of pleasure as eating a piece of cake or something like that, because then everyone would be getting sick all the time, and that's not good for survival. But it's like, man, maybe the body could have just like calmed it down a little bit in terms of, how scratchy the throat feels during all of this. Like just have the nervous system be aware of it and be like mildly annoying rather than having it just be absolutely disgusting. Jesus, immune system, calm down. You don't need to actually make me feel like I'm gonna die this way just because you're working hard. It's a cold, good Lord. Just adds to my sci-fi fantasy of one day existing in a world where we have invented nanobots that you can just have in your blood that just go through, and rather than you having to go through an immune system, the nanobots are just in your blood, they recognize the virus, and they just like take tiny little lasers and just like pew, zap it away, right? That's my sci-fi dream. My sci-fi dream is that I could have nanobots that keep me always in perfect health, right? Like that would be, it'd be so much easier than having to worry about like dieting and stuff. If your body was just automatically like, oh yeah, no. It's like the Futurama episode when Fry has the worms that just kind of like automatically make him brilliant and strong and healthy. Like, yeah, if I could do that in real life, 100% I would. 100% I would. Like, if there were worms that did that, I would 100%. 100%. Like, that was the whole debate inside of, in that episode of Futurama. I'm getting sidetracked, but this is an interesting thought. The whole debate about that one was, was it Fry doing that or was it the worms? So it's like Leela was falling in love, right? And it was like, was she in love with Fry or was she in love with the worms? And I understand the philosophical argument there. The fact of the matter is, our body is incredibly. I don't know the specific number. I think it kind of fluctuates depending on the person. But it is true that our body has a much larger percent than most people would expect of organisms that are not us, right? Like they're just a normal healthy person has so much gut biome that like is just all kinds of different varying bacterias and stuff like that are good for us, that help us survive, right? And like that's true throughout our entire body. There's so much of us that isn't us, so to speak. And so then it just kind of becomes a point of like, what percentage would or wouldn't be us, right? Like, do you stop being yourself because, because they do now, it's really gross, but they'll do like fecal transplants for people with like a lot of infections and stuff, because doing the fecal transplant, like that's literally what it sounds like. They put one person's poo in another person's butt, right? That's basically exactly what they do. But it's because they can do that to replace someone's missing gut biome, right? If their gut biome, if their stomach and intestinal bacteria have been hurt or injured by a treatment or an illness, You can take someone else's and put it in there, just like you could transplant someone else's kidney or whatever, right? The same concept, right? So at that point in time, though, because it was foreign biome, foreign bacteria and stuff like that, are you suddenly not yourself? I would argue that that's not true, because I would argue that the self is the mind. And so even if the body gets changed up so that your mind makes better connections, it's still your mind existing within it and using those connections that will, in the episode of Futurama, make you good at playing really difficult to play instruments and stuff like that, right? It's still you doing that. You just now suddenly have the better brain capacity to do that kind of stuff. So really what I'm getting at right now is, I don't care if other people think it would destroy my humanity. I 100% would enjoy any outside factor making me a largely better person. I am 100% on board with that. It's the same as how, like in the Deus Ex games, right? They constantly have that debate of like, how much can a person lose and have replaced and still be human? And I'm like, man, I will be the opposite of the bicentennial man. I will 100% be the opposite. Put my consciousness in an entirely robot body that can do robot crap and like a superhero, and I'll perfectly be happy. If they find a good way to replace my eyes like Cyberpunk, I will be one of the first people to sign to try that, because that sounds rad. I absolutely want binocular eyes that shoot lasers like Cyclops, and and like freaking like the fingernails that are USB ports, so I can plug myself into a computer and just download information rather than having to learn anything. Absolutely, I'm in 100%, 110%. I think it's ridiculous that anyone wouldn't be. It's just silly. It's just silly. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Here I am getting myself all worked up. I'm going to destroy my voice doing this. And it's already struggling because of the cold. Let's do another spell. Let's do one more spell. Finish, do one more as a bit of a warm-up. And then we'll go back we'll dive into doing some world building. I'm actually really excited to do some world building today. But we'll get into that when the time comes. We're gonna finish our warm-up here. All right, banishment. I immediately am excited about creating like a banishing sword or something like that. I think this is going to be incredibly fun. I'm already stoked about this item. Get rid of that there. We don't need that. All of these need to be bulleted. Go. All right. Going to be banishment. Banishment. There it is. Going to be vanished. Does anyone know that one? That one's from Disenchantment. That's Una. Says you will vanish me. Good stuff. Good stuff. See, I don't have original humorous stuff. I just quote funny things and just kind of go for the easy laughs that way. That's my brand of humor. It requires very little thinking, just a lot of time wasted watching other pieces of media. It's great stuff. Okay. You attempt to send one creature you can see within range to another plane of existence. We'll say you attempt to... okay, here's what I want to say. You attempt to send one creature that you touch with the item to another plane of existence. You touch with the item to another plane of existence. The target must succeed on a charisma saving throw or be banished. And then we'll have to make sure we note what the charisma saving throw will be. It'll probably be a 14. Again, like 10 plus whatever the spell of the level of the spell is. If the target is native to the plane of existence you are on, you banish the target to a harmless demiplane. While there, the target is incapacitated. The target remains there until the spell ends, at which point the target reappears in the space left or in the nearest unoccupied space if that space is occupied. If the target is native to a different plane of existence than the one you're on, the target is banished with a faint popping noise, returning to its home plane. The spell ends before 1 minute has passed. The target reappears in the space it left or in the nearest unoccupied space if that space is occupied. Otherwise, the target doesn't return. Okay, I think honestly all of that just can stay right as it is. That's just basically describing the functions of what banishment does. So I think that can all stay. We don't need to change that at all. Higher levels, so instead of cast, this is going to be when you imbue an item when you imbue an item with, this spell using a, we'll say spell, trying to minimize the amount of work I have to do to reword this. When you imbue an item with a spell, at 5th level or higher, is what we can do. At 5th level or higher, you can target one additional creature with each spell, we'll just say with each level above 4th. So basically, since we're putting it on an item, it gives you extra uses of the item. Kind of functionally ends up being the same thing. Yeah, I think that works. That works. Hey, John, happy to have you lurking. Happy to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you. You get to listen to my voice slowly become more and more raspy as this cold continues to kick my behind. Observe my suffering. All right. Let's see here. It's, it is what it is. It is what it is. At least it's not COVID. I tested. I got myself tested this morning. And it was not. Thank goodness. That means I can feel free to go and make everyone else sick because it's not COVID. That's what that means, right? I just go give everyone else my common cold. It's only a cold. Who cares? This is when I begin my week of wearing a mask. Every single place I go, even places where I know the people won't mind if I don't wear one, just because I don't want to be a dick. I'm gonna go ahead and plug that. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this right now. This is my call to action to ask people, regardless of your feelings about catching COVID and all that kind of stuff, regardless of all that stuff, if you know you're ill and you have to go out to places, do everyone around you a favor and put on a mask. Not as some sort of, political symbol or anything, but just because that way you're not breathing your germs on everyone else. It's a polite thing to do. Kind of like how you wash your hands when you're in public, all that kind of stuff. Just like, that's my request right there. It's not a political request. It's a like if whoever gave me this cold had done that, I might not have this cold, and that would be real nice, right? Just don't. They say misery loves company. Fight the urge to live by that. Get stuff delivered. Yeah, if you can afford that. I don't know. Price of groceries going up. I don't know if I could afford groceries today and to pay someone else to deliver it for me. That's getting up there. Boy, oh boy, groceries are expensive nowadays. It's like doubled in price. See that video of an archer that can fire? Yes, I have seen that one. I have seen that. That was a really cool video. It's freaking me out. It's like some freaking, what was that one movie? Wanted? Was that the one where they curved the bullets? This is crazy. It just ruined cover. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. I have to imagine that it's got that the arrow was like a specially designed arrow that would like impact the airflow around it, like with special tail feathers or something like that. I have to imagine. I didn't look at it closely. Hey, Lady Ishka, happy to have you lurking. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. It might make them more playable. I mean, yeah, if you make someone overpowered, everyone will want to play them. Oh my goodness. All right, let's see here. Anyways, where was it? We were working on making banishment an enchantment. So I feel like this one can be so in terms of what it can go on. Oh, I apologize. Stupid cold. Can be rid of that. Can be put on any item used to hit or make contact with the target. So you could really use anything. You could put a baseball. Ooh, I like that actually. The baseball of banishment. And you just like chuck it at someone that you don't like, and you just hit them with a baseball, and they get banished. I like that. Drake Warden or Twilight Cleric, both cool options. I don't blame you. All right, yeah. Let me put on any item used to hit or make contact with the target. Example item. So what I want to do here is, I want to do banishing Billy Club. Often used by police forces. They'll use it to quickly banish someone when they're in the middle of a chase, so that way they can like regroup and be ready to arrest them properly. Kind of plays into the whole police brutality thing, but that's just making it accurate to real life. Hey-o! Take that, America. Got him. Banishing Billy Club. A club used to potentially banish the target hit by it. Very popular among guards who will often use the temporary banishment to arrange for proper capture of a perp. There we go. Perfect. Baseball glove of banishment. Actually, to catch rather than keep it on a new target. Yeah, exactly. And it's like the world's most intense game of hot potato using it. It's perfect. The timeout stick. Exactly. Yeah, very popular among daycares. It's medieval times. Hitting children was much more socially acceptable back then, at least among the peasant rabble, the great unwashed. Such a violent concept. Used by parents who are trying to get a good night's sleep. Honey, the baby has colic. It's crying again. Just use the banishing. Use the blanket of banishment. Just like banish. Just give me 10 minutes. Just a 10-minute nap. That's all I need. have the demi-plane that it gets sent to. The demi-plane that the child gets sent to is like the demi-plane. It's the daycare. It's the daycare plane. And there's just like a very nice old grandma who will give the child like sweets, so it's good for the child as well. It's Fruity Land, that's what it is. Boom. It looks fun. It is fun. It is fun creating these things. It's one of my favorite little ongoing projects. I love using it as my sort of writing warm up, get me in a more creative headspace. It's a very enjoyable thing, and my players love it too because they get really cool, fun items that they can enchant with a lot of very unique special powers. So it just everybody wins, except for the enemies. But they're the bad guys; they're not supposed to win. That's how it works. Okay, so how it's cast, we'll say, we'll say once per day, the command word is spoken. And the spell affects the next creature hit by the item. Boom, there we go. Pulling the powder grenade and throwing at each other. Yeah, that's fair. That does sound pretty dangerous. I feel like the only way to make it more dangerous would be if it's like an even bigger explosive. And that's it right there. Got what you needed. What did you need? It's not you're not saying what you needed was the idea of a grenade hot potato game. That's not what anyone needs. It's a bad idea. Don't do that. Remote to a nuke? No, just the nuke itself. The nuke itself, like a mortar style one, so that way when it hits the ground, the impact will explode it. Yeah, forget the remote. Take that. That's an unnecessary middleman. Just like the nuke right there. Boom. Whole neighborhood gone. Oh, just something I need. Something I said. Gotcha. I don't even remember what I said. I don't listen to myself very often, so I don't know what I said. I drift in and out. It's just a constant stream of babbling. Who has all the energy to listen to me 24/7? I mean, goddamn. A lot of people come in and stay for like 20 minutes and leave. God, imagine trying to listen to me all day long. I couldn't do it. I don't do it. Ridiculous. This guy over here, listening to himself all day long. All right, the range, contact, has to make contact with the target. And then the duration, what was the duration of this thing again? Was it like a minute or an hour or something like that? I don't know. 1 minute. Un minuto. Uno minuto. 1 minute. Bing, bada, boom. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I think that works. I do like the idea of the Banishing Billy Club. I think that's a great item. I would use one of those. Are you kidding me? I would use one of those in my day job. For a second. I thought it was an itch on my nose, but it was actually just me being really gross. I'm sorry, I have a cold. Give me a second. Guys, this is what you guys all came for, right? Me just being absolutely disgusting. Well, you got it, baby. You got it, because that's where I'm at. I am a gross. I am the guy from those Mucinex commercials. You guys remember? Anyone remember those commercials? The little boogerman that lives in your throat. He's the mucus man, and Mucinex helps you get rid of him. Yeah, I'm that guy right now. That's how gross I am. Man in thaumaturgy. Sound booming and say. Yeah, I've had players try to do stuff like that too, and it's like if we're not in the middle of combat or something like that, I'll often allow them to kind of chain them one right after the other. It's like if we're not trying to like navigate turns within a 6-second window, it's like hell yeah, why not? I've had players try to do stuff like that. It's dependent on the role, so it doesn't always go as well as they hope it will. But I've had people try that. It has the potential to be pretty amusing most of the time. All right, let's see here. So now, if the Banishing Billy Club were to be a sentient item, as always, again, good and evil. Not about whether or not it's like good or evil towards the user. It always helps the user. If it's good, it'll do something extra for the user. If it's evil, it'll do, if it is evil, it will do something against the target or the enemies. If it's lawful, it does something that's a bit more focused, a bit more powerful. Like it's just it aims itself a little bit better. And if it's chaotic, it's got a broader effect, but it might be a little less potent. Yeah, absolutely. Rule of cool it. Yeah, no, well, it's 100%. Like I say, that's why I totally allow my players to do it. Like if we're in the middle of combat and other people are trying to take their turns and stuff, just out of respect for the other players, I might limit that because one spell per action. But yeah, if they're not in combat and someone's just trying to do something, 100% rule of cool it. All right, so if it's good, doing something extra for the person using it. I think, let's see here. Under one creature you touch with the item on the plane of existence. Target must succeed on a charisma saving throw or be banished. Target is native to the plane of existence. I almost feel like what this thing will do, if it's good, if the initial target succeeds on, let's see, well, so for good, the item is extra determined to be of use. If the target succeeds on their saving throw, the item retains the ability to retains the ability to cast the spell for one more attempt on the user's next turn. So it's like if at first if it doesn't work on the first try, it'll still try it again. It's like it manages to retain the magic so that you can try one more time. It's kind of what my thought is there. And I'm thinking with evil, it'll probably just give I think the easy, obvious one is that it'll give the target disadvantage on the charisma, right? It's just something extra bad there. If good turns you evil, if evil turns you good, it's cool as someone else. That sounds more like a cursed item to me. That sounds more like a cursed item to me if it just like flat out changes your entire existence, your entire personality. I think you're talking about a cursed item, and I feel like that cursed item is just like it's like a monocle or something like that. If you're evil, it makes you appear good and friendly and distinguished. If you're good, it makes you appear as an evil villain. And if it's neutral, like everyone just agrees that monocles aren't cool. All right, let's see here. So yeah, if it's evil, is very determined to get the target banished. Target has disadvantage on the save to avoid banishment. Boom. What if like being banished from a town actually worked like in D&D, and so it's like you're sitting there, you know, it's like medieval times, And the king was like, I banish thee. And like your trial is that they give you a dice and you just have to roll it. And it's like that was their interpretation of letting the gods decide. Heavy to hold if it touched by a chaotic player. So like I say, so lawful is about narrowing the focus, and chaotic is about broadening the focus of the spell. Like I've got sort of a consistency thing that I do to try and help keep it consistent. It's an interesting idea. It's an interesting idea, but I think that's a different thing than what I'm targeting here. So for it being lawful, see, it's hard because the concept of the lawful one is kind of hard. Because it already focuses on a single target. But I'm wondering if what we can do is it will, so let's see, I'm wondering if we can use that for, like what I'm thinking for is we think about how it decides what plane the target gets banished to, is sort of where my mind is going initially, right? Because it kind of has some rules about this. Banishes the player and the target. Honestly, not the worst idea. My thought for chaotic, we'll get there, but my thought for chaotic is that it has an area of effect, and so you have to, like, it has the potential for an area of effect, and so it's like the main target has to make a save, and anyone immediately next to the target, including the user if it's a melee weapon, has to make the save, but they get to do it at advantage or something. But I'm thinking lawful because it's because it's narrowing the focus. I think what I want to do is the item is very good at directing the banished to chosen locations. The user can choose a specific plane that the target will be banished to. It's kind of what my thought is there. So it's like you can choose to have it go there, which would be kind of funny. It's like if you're fighting a fire elemental and you get the success on that, it's like, yeah, send him to the water plane. Suck it. You know, it's like it could potentially be a pretty powerful thing depending on how they do. Advantage versus the target versus opposite alignment. Possibly. Again, it's not like the lawful, it is on the alignment table, but I don't like the effects to only focus on alignment, just because that can be kind of tough to keep track of in the middle of combat, you know, especially if like players are fighting another NPC. It's like, you know, are all NPCs going to be, you know, like chaotic or something like that? It gets a lot muddier than that. So it's like the lawful is about the thing being very focused in its use, whereas chaotic is it being not focused in its use, is kind of the idea that I go for with these. But I do like the idea of chaotic even potentially impacting the user. So we'll say is very enthusiastic about banishment. Okay, so it's very enthusiastic about banishment. Let's see here. I'm trying to make sure I word this properly so it like actually kind of makes sense upon reading it. We'll say any creature within 5 feet of the intended target must also make a charisma save with advantage, or else they are also banished. Boom. So yeah, if it's a melee weapon, you got to be careful with that. The thing will get real excited about it. So it's like, you know, a bard might be willing to do that, right? The bard might be super stoked about that because they have the charisma that they can do that. And it's no big deal. But yeah, I like that. I think that works. Oh, there's one thing that I did need to do for this. I need to add, we'll put one more note in the mechanics. We'll say save is DC 14, because for the items I always do 10 plus the item level, since we don't necessarily have a spellcaster DC. So I always default it to 10 plus the level. So that way it's just like, level 9 spell. It's a 19 on the save. That's really tough to do. Whereas if it's a cantrip, that's a 10 save. It's a cantrip. They can just keep trying it again and again and again. So let's take a wisdom save to frame it for this. That's where we fall into confusion as defined by Pokemon right there. Confused. It hurt itself. Okay, I'm going to be perfectly honest. Like, okay, so I'm a kickboxer, right? And, I've been in a fight. I've been in fights. I've been knocked out before. It's part of what I do. I've been hit in the head to the point that it has confused me. I have never been confused to the point that I started punching myself in the head. So I still, I understand the concept of someone being confused and then just, falling or something like that. But in general, the concept of someone trying to hit someone else and then hurting themselves in their confusion, I'm still not buying it, Pokemon. It's been decades since I played the first Pokemon that came out, and I'm still not convinced. Just not there. Just not there. Howell, you're talking about an entirely different stream at that point in time. I need to pay a lot more money to start talking about Lust Plains. That's an entirely different stream. All right, let's see here. Okay, so we've got these things. We got the baseline. So now let's talk about if the item accidentally becomes cursed. So the extra powerful benefit, so it's always, I think what I want to do for this thing is, I'm trying to think about exactly what would be a good benefit, but even more important is really what's the drawback, right? Because I always say, a curse should have a drawback, but have the drawback and the extra benefit be such that someone would be still willing to risk that drawback, in exchange for whatever that bonus benefit is. So I'm wondering if it's if the bonus is that it's a guaranteed banishment, they don't even get to make a save. It's guaranteed. But then my thought is that the drawback is that rather than the thing being returned to the same location that it was banished from, right? So it's you're standing there, you banish it from right next to you, and then you leave, and then it comes back, and it's still in that place it was banished from. My thought is that the banishment ties it to the item, so that you can banish it, and it's maybe it's a guaranteed banishment, and maybe it even is gone for 2 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that. It's an extra long banishment, but the thing will come back, and it always comes back right next to you, right? It's it's always comes back in the same place relative to the item, not relative to the location it was banished from, is my thought. And so it's someone might want to, they might consider that a benefit, right? Because it's oh, well, we can use that to really control the battlefield around us, and I can intentionally banish this thing. We can take out all the minions, and then we can focus on the boss, right? It can do that. But the flip side is, and actually maybe that means that we have it be just the same amount of time. So it's okay, you got 1 minute to really do some stuff, otherwise things are going to get chaotic again. Kind of what my thought is. Let's see here. If we can manage things and people to Shadowfell right plane, sure. If that's what the person wants to choose, that's how I wrote it. That's what they can do. So I like that though. We'll say the item immediately banishes the target without the target having the chance to make a save. Actually, I'm gonna rephrase that. I'm gonna say immediately, and we'll say here, immediately banishes the target every time. Let's say the target cannot try to make a save. Boom. Okay, so then the problematic side effect here is we're going to say the banished creature will always return the same space relative, spell that properly, relative to the item, not the location it was banished from. And then my thought is for what it takes to remove, must be removed magically if the owner tries to remove or abandon the item. The item will banish the owner and not allow them to return until the owner abandons attempts to get rid of the item. So it's like, oh, no. We're just, no. You can't go away. You can't get rid of me. You can't get rid of me. We're tied together. Creature from the plane target was banished to returns with the creature could be problematic. Absolutely. Any of these items could be problematic. That's like the risk with magic in general. When you start messing with the fabric of reality, I feel like you're opening the window for all kinds of problematic things. That's the fun of it right there. That's the fun of it. There we go. I actually really like this item. I kind of like this item. I kind of like banishing Billy Club. And 100%, I didn't write it here because I feel like it's a given. I feel like it would be redundant to write it. But if it becomes sentient, every time, 100%, the banishing Billy Club is named Billy. But only if it's a club. Only if it's a club. If it's any other item, it will not be named Billy. But that's just it. No, I like this item. I think this is a good one. I think this is a really good one. Sweet. Fun stuff. Oh, boy. Okay. I have a cold. I'm keeping very well hydrated to help fight it off as soon as possible. The problem with that, the problematic side effect, the bonus effect of drinking lots of fluids is it'll help me fight off this cold faster. The problematic side effect is that it makes me have to go wee-wee quite frequently. So I'm going to run and take a bathroom break real quickly, refill my drinks, that way I can keep hydrated. And then when I come back, I think I'm going to have a switch gears and we're going to work on our campaign setting a little bit more. So sit tight, I'll be back in like 2 minutes, maybe not even that long. I appreciate your patience. Alrighty, there we go. Much better. And that will last 45 minutes, and then I'll have to go to the bathroom again. Hooray. Now, I appreciate your patience. Like I say, I have definitely come down with a cold. I was, at first, yesterday when I first started feeling symptoms, I was thinking it might have just been allergies, because it really hasn't been that bad of a cold. It's irritating like any cold. But mostly it's just kind of gross. Well, rather it makes me kind of gross. Yeah, it hasn't been terrible, but like I say, regardless of how horrible or not horrible a cold is, fluids are great for helping it move through the system faster, so bottoms up. And if it means that I'm basically chained to the bathroom all day, I'll take it, because usually when a sickness makes you chained to the bathroom, it's not quite as innocent as just having to go potty often. So the fact that that's all that I'm doing when I'm in there, I'll take it. I'll take it. It could be way, way worse. Life could always be worse. Isn't that just kind of true in general? Life, really, actually, if you think about it, if there were a way to objectively scale good and bad in life, really there is only one possible way in which life could not be worse, right? Like, if we could objectively scale things, there would, if we could, again, we can't, so it's not really a fair saying, but it's like, if we could, then in theory, that would mean there was only one worst possible life. So, really, just about every other life, except for that one worst possible one, could be worse. And I'd like to think that there are many, many ways in which it'd be way, way worse than simply having a cold. If this is the worst part of my day, is having a scratchy throat and having to go to the bathroom a lot, I'll take it. I'll take it compared to what, even people in my life have to go through sometimes. Plenty of people in my life have much worse health problems, and they would absolutely give me the stink eye if I started acting like this cold was the worst thing that could happen to me. So, I don't know. Little bit of Monday gratitude for us there. It's always good to try and have that positive outlook. I know that sounds super cliche, but 100% a positive outlook can really make a difference. So, everyone, there's your TED Talk for the day. Think positively. All right, so we've been working on. Let me pull up some maps here. I'm really excited to be working on our area here. Let's get we're gonna open up a few different maps here. I'm really excited to work on this today. I spent some time this weekend in general. I don't know. I guess we're not done with the TED Talk kind of yet. But I did some time kind of thinking a lot about some different aspects and things that I have going on in my life in general. Like I have had a very eventful year already myself. In that, one of the biggest goals I set out for myself, I may have mentioned it on stream before. I may have mentioned it on stream today. I'm a kickboxer, amateur, hobbyist, but I do a lot of kickboxing. And my big goal this year was to have a fight this year. That was a big hurdle for me. I've always perceived, as someone who didn't grow up doing contact sports, as someone who has always been, I've always been what maybe some would describe as oftentimes metrosexual. I'm a dude who is very comfortable being a dude, but also is very comfortable enjoying not conventional dude things. For example, I paint my toenails. My toenails are always a bright color. Right now, they're bright neon yellow. I did that yesterday. So as someone who kind of grew up often being picked on by that kind of stuff, I spent a lot of time in my life perceiving a lot of those things as being barriers to stopping me from being, a conventional tough guy, a strong dude. And so for me, there's a lot of importance in being able to step in the ring. Don't mind me, I'm kind of distracted trying to find the maps that we need here. And so that was a big hurdle for me, was to prove to largely myself more than anyone else that any personal belief I might have had that I would be incapable of doing this, that, or the other thing were false. And one of the biggest things for that is, like I say, the having the courage, the cojones, if you will, to step into the ring and face what is, what many would agree is probably one of the most dangerous and self-harmful things that I could do. And I did it. And so since then, there's a reason I'm talking about this in the middle of a writing stream. I'm getting there. I promise. But since having completed that goal, I've kind of entered the past month, because that was about a month ago. I've kind of entered this phase of, maybe the best way to describe it is this phase of chillaxing. I've been very much enjoying just sort of the like basking in the success of having accomplished not just the biggest goal I had for this year, but maybe the biggest goal that I've ever set for myself in my life. One of the most challenging things, and I did it, right? And so because of that, I've been very much in a state of just like relaxing, not worrying about too much. How could I worry about too much? Like the most dangerous thing I can think to do for myself, not dangerous, the most intimidating thing I could think to do for myself, I did, right? I did it. So it's like, golly, what else is there? What else is there to stress about? What is there to be worried about of anything at all, right? There's not much. And so because of that, I've been spending a lot of time largely in a state of just kind of going with the flow and just kind of letting things be as be as they are. And in a lot of ways, it's a very good way to go about life, right? You do need to be able to go with the flow. But the problem I've noticed in myself is that as a result, the other goals that I have set out for myself and the other things that I like to do, whether it's a goal for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, whatever it is, I've been much less focused and driven in them because I've kind of been just in the state of, it's not like for me as someone who's dealt with a lot of depression and anxiety in life, it's not the same as what that is. Like that's one very big problem that can lead to struggling with goals. But this has been something different. This has largely been a matter of like, oh, I set that out for myself, but I got like all year to worry about it. It's not a big deal. I mean, come on, I already did the biggest thing. I took that out in the first quarter, man. The rest of the year is just smooth sailing. Now we're a month later and I'm realizing that like the effort I've been putting forth and the progress on the goals has largely been, I'm not going to say zero because I have been progressing, but it's tapered. The amount of progress might have been like, a nice increasing line, and it might have tapered off a little bit. And that's fine. And in a lot of ways, I'm totally fine with that. And I think I've earned that in a lot of ways. So I'm not going to say that I regret it, but like I was reflecting this weekend on that and thinking to myself, I really want to be a bit more, I kind of want to get back to being focused and understanding, and the word I use a lot is someone who tends to be a pretty meditative kind of person. I want to be a bit more intentional in the things that I do, right? So it's not necessarily me sitting here trying to be like, okay, I gotta rush to the finish of doing this, that, or the other goal. It's more so that when I have set time for myself to work towards this, that, or the other goal, I want to be intentional about it. I don't want to sit down and passively be like, yeah, I guess we'll get a little bit of this, that, or the other thing done, and then like idly, goof off with just like, watching some YouTube in the background or, surfing the web for 20 minutes before I really get started. Like I don't want the rest of my year to be defined as being that lackadaisical. And I think one of the reasons I'm talking about this out loud is because I feel like, at least if the people that I interact with, like my friends and family that I interact with in my life regularly, are any indication, I think a lot of people kind of struggle with this version of lack of motivation, right? Like there's a lot of focus gets put on, the more depression and anxiety driven versions of lack of motivation. And I'm not trying to diminish that. Again, as someone who's struggled with those, it's a very serious thing. But that's not the only reason that someone can lack in focus or lack in being driven, right? And I think it can be much more mundane and everyday, the lack of drive that people have. And I feel like that can be just as frustrating because in a lot of ways, that's a type of lack of motivation that feels like it shouldn't exist. Right? Like if you're in a good state of mind, it feels like you shouldn't be struggling to get done the things that you want to get done, right? And I know for me that can be one of the big frustrations with this type of thing, is because like I'll get to the end of a week and I'll reflect on what I got done that week, and I'll realize that I didn't practice my instruments like I thought I was going to, right? Like I goofed off too much and I ran out of time to practice the guitar, for the 3 hours I wanted to this week. I didn't finish, the X number of dungeon rooms I wanted to finish writing for this one place. And it's like you get to the end of that week and you think like, why couldn't I do this? Like I don't have any excuse. I'm not, I wasn't busy. I don't hate doing it. I'm not, upset or unhappy in life. I should be doing this, and you just can't. And like I know for me, like I say, a lot of that kind of comes from almost the extreme opposite of being so relaxed sometimes that it can be very easy to kind of brush it off and be like, there's plenty of time to do it later. So I don't know, maybe that resonates with people, maybe it doesn't, but it's just something that I've been thinking about a lot. And it's like, hey, I got a microphone and people seem to, be interested in the things that I have to say from time to time. So maybe I'll just voice this and maybe it'll mean something to someone. At any rate, having thought about that, I kind of want to, I was really excited that it was Monday, because I thought about this a lot yesterday evening. I was thinking about it a lot, yesterday evening being the beginning of the week, thinking like, okay, I really do want this week to be a little bit more focused, a little bit more accomplishing. Like, I don't know that I want to use the word successful, because I don't know that I'd call past weeks failures per se, but I want to achieve more this week than I have in the past few weeks, right? Like I want to get to the end of the week and I want to reflect. I want to say like, yes, I achieved all of the steps that I wanted to take. Like I took all of the steps I wanted to take towards my goals. And like I say, a lot of that comes from this concept of having intention in the things that I do. And that's something that when I'm going through periods of my life when I am very successful in whatever goals I set for myself, I can recognize upon reflection that in those times, it's not that I was more or less driven. It's not that I was more or less interested in what I was doing. It was that in those times, I was taking the time and putting in the mental energy to have intention with what I was doing, to set out knowing what I wanted to do. And that doesn't necessarily mean I want to get X number of things done. For me, that's more about I want to approach this with this attitude and this mentality and this type of focus. So what does that mean for me sitting here and writing? Because a big part of that is like these writing streams, and the projects that I'm working on with writing, both the project that we work on stream as well as the projects that I work off stream, because I'm presently in my life writing 2 campaigns, right? I have this one that I work on stream for us for the sake of a project and for the sake of discussion and all that kind of stuff. And then I have the other campaign that I am sort of actively writing as we play for my players, which like I've already got that one largely mapped out. It's just a matter of making tweaks as needed as the game goes, but writing 2 things. And so what does this concept of intention mean for me when I'm writing? And so for me, I think a lot about the fact that I say it all the time, but I feel like I haven't been living it lately. I approach writing campaigns and creating a D&D world, I approach it from the mentality of a world builder first. And that's just my way of doing it. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the way that everyone needs to do it, right? But just for exemplifying what I mean when I say approaching my writing with intention. That is at my core where this hobby comes from. That's why this hobby means something to me. That's why I love D&D, because I love building worlds. I love imagining a world and thinking about the details and how this world exists and in what ways that world will be impacted by what happens in it, right? And that's where the players come in. They will do things in the world. And so part of the world building is understanding that world enough that if my players do X thing to X person, what ripple effect will that have? That's how I, at my core, first ever got started imagining and writing worlds, is as a world builder, not as someone who wanted to play D&D. D&D came many years after I started world building. So when I think about writing, and when I think about what I've been working on and trying to accomplish on streams, I feel like my focus on that has been, I'm not going to say gone or suffering, but it hasn't been the focal point. I've sat down and I've focused much more on trying to mechanically build a game, which isn't wrong. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And if that's your way of writing D&D, then you should stick to it, right? But for me, that's the wrong approach to it. Because for me, that's not at the core of what makes me love this game. Love this hobby, love this process. It's not building a game. It's building a world and letting the game happen to it, if that makes sense, right? Like the rules for me are like the second or third layer of this. The foundational layer is just world building. So when I think about this concept of trying to approach what I'm doing with more intention, and these streams of me writing and world building, and even when I'm not on stream of writing and world building, I want to get myself back into a more clear-headed mindset of being a world builder, because I feel like I haven't been approaching it from that way. And this is just something that's self-reflective. It's not like I failed a test. It's not like I did anything wrong. It's not like I even wrote anything wrong. I'm still quite happy with what we've written. But I can feel when I think about the past few streams, past few weeks of streaming, really, I've enjoyed it. I've had a blast writing, as I always do. But I haven't, when I think back on it, I don't feel like I've approached it from that mindset. And I don't know that it's my best work. It's good work, and I'm proud of it, and I'm glad that I did it. And I'm not going to go back and rewrite everything. But I think I can do better. I think I can have more passion for it. I think I can love the things that we're working on here on stream even more than I do right now. And so that's I'm going to try really hard. Like, I'm vocalizing a lot of this right now, again, for the sake of trying to just offer up this thought process to other people who it may or may not resonate with, but also as part of the process for myself, because saying it out loud makes it sometimes, for some people, and different people's brains will work and react to different things in different ways. But for me, vocalizing and discussing and sharing these ideas is part of what will make this idea real, right? It's one thing for me to think, I've been sitting around last night with my journal thinking like, I wish I were a bit more focused on my stuff. And then going, we'll see if I can do that tomorrow. And then not doing it, right? That's what I've been doing for the past month. Is just sort of thinking to myself like, oh, I should probably try and do it like this. And then a week later, getting to the end of the week saying like, I didn't really do it like that. And so for me, this process of vocalizing, of verbalizing it is a really important part, because for me, this feels more so like I'm planting my flag. Like I'm going to commit to trying to do this a bit more, try and be a bit more focused. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a meaningful rant to anyone. I don't even know if it'll end up being meaningful to me. We might sit down here Thursday and I've completely forgotten about it already. Who knows? I don't have time to watch my own streams. Who would want to watch my streams anyways? Sounds like an idiot. Please keep watching my streams. I appreciate you guys. But at any rate, if that's a helpful little TED talk for you, write it down, take it, put it in your pocket, and save it for later. If it's not helpful, ignore everything that I just said and keep doing your own thing. You're all beautiful people. You're all. I'm convinced. I don't even have to know you. I don't even have to know what your goals are. I am convinced that all of you are perfectly capable people. You are all perfectly capable of being perfectly successful at whatever you set out to do. Just make sure, the point of the rant is, make sure you remember why you're doing it, and make sure you approach what you're doing with that intention, right? Don't do it for reasons that don't mean anything to you. Don't do it for reasons that people say you should be doing it. Do whatever it is you want to do for the reasons that mean something to you, and take 5 minutes, 5 seconds, whatever it is, at the beginning, whenever you set time out to do that thing, whatever it is, take just a few seconds, a few minutes, whatever it is. You can call it meditation. You can call it just like thinking out loud. You can call it just taking one breath. Like, you can just call it, right? Like, if that's all it is for you. And make sure you know why you're doing it, and then do it for that reason. And so this whole big rant is me saying, I am sitting here, I am working on this project because I like to build worlds. I love to build worlds. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm not writing a game. I am building a world. That's what means something to me. And that's what I'm going to do. So if it feels like today is a little bit different, maybe the flow is going to feel a little off, it's because in a lot of ways I'm trying to refine what my own personal drive is, what my own personal reason for doing this is. And I love this rant because it really feels like I'm talking about something super duper important when really all I'm doing is talking about imaginary wizards in an imaginary world for imaginary dice rolls. Well, the dice rolls are real, but you understand what I mean? Like, I love the gravitas that I've added to this. I feel so powerful right now. I am the creator of worlds. And that's how I'm going to approach this, as the creator of worlds, not a dude who is trying to organize a few rules for some players. I'm trying to build a world here. And that's what means something to me. I'm not saying that has to mean anything to anyone else. But that's what means something to me. And like I say, I hope that people can recognize that the point of this rant is find the reason you do things and do it for that reason. Have intention in what you do. Because I guarantee you, even if the process is slower, even if it feels clumsier, even if it, if it doesn't necessarily seem like it's going to be what everyone else in the world says is the best way to do it, that's the way that will work for you. Because if you approach everything with the reason that gives you passion for doing it, it doesn't matter. You'll be doing it for the sake of doing it. And that's what will get you to keep doing it years and years later, right? That's the reason why I've been a DM for getting close to 10 years of my life and have no intention of ever slowing it down. Because I always approach it from a world building standpoint, and I approach it for the reasons that I love doing it, right? And that's what keeps that passion going. So I encourage you all to think about that, whether it's writing it down in a journal, meditation, or like I say, just one quick breath before you go for a run. Just make sure that run has that intention. You know why you're doing that run. It's not enough to just say, oh, because people say I should run. And well, like I know that that people say I should be healthy and running is a way to do it. No. There are a million ways that you can be healthy. Why do you choose running? Right? And it's like, understand that as you take that first step, make sure you know why you're doing it, whether it's writing, running, whatever it is. I don't know. I've belabored it so much at this point in time that you're all probably sick and tired of me saying it, but I don't know. It clearly means something to me to talk about this. So, and I'm the one with the mic, so haha, I get to say it. Take that. With that in mind, what world are we building? We're building Zaoria. This is my world. Y'all are welcome to come in it and visit. That phrasing came out weird. You guys are all willing to come visit it. That's a better phrasing of that. I'm not going to reiterate it. It's a different stream. It happens, I'm sure. It's a world that includes the concept of reproduction. Moving on. This is my world of Zaoria. I love this world. This is a world that is an amalgamation of so many different ideas and places that I've come up with since high school, which, god damn, that's like 15 years ago, depending on which year of high school we're talking about. Oh, that's a lot of years. That is so many years. Weird. That's like half of my life ago. I'm at a point now where I've spent half of my life out of grade school. That's a lot of years. Sorry, I'm having an epiphany moment here. This is a big day for me. I'm having a lot of existential thoughts. I blame the cold. My internal rhythms are all off. I don't drink, so there's no alcohol here, but this is the type of day that'll drive a guy to start. No. And all humor aside, I'm actually quite comfortable with it. I'm glad I'm so far from high school because I was a neurotic, depressed, upset mess in high school, and I'm in a much better place. And I hope that is always true for everyone. I hope it's always true for everyone that you're in a better place than you were yesterday. That's like the ultimate goal of being alive. At any rate, this world, I've been working on it for the better part of 15 years. And I love this world. I absolutely love this world. This is Zaoria. It is a post-apocalyptic world. Takes place, if you imagine, I'm just sort of explaining everything. This time it's for my benefit. I always say that I'm explaining it for the sake of other people who are maybe watching this and aren't aware of what my world is. I'm saying it for my benefit this time. Because I want to make sure I'm understanding my world and I'm in the right headspace for my world. If all of the different planes of existence are like different liquids or whatever, like oils and waters and whatever, that would form different stratified layers in a jar, right? Like I always imagine, I had a science teacher in elementary school, and she had these beakers, and I thought they were so cool, that had all kinds of different like oils and liquids and stuff that were of different density. And she had different objects that had matching densities that would float at different layers, right? And she had them like with food coloring and everything, so you could just see the layers. This was way back in elementary school when this was still a groundbreaking concept. Nowadays you go to bake a cake, right, and you use the same measuring cup for water and oil, and you see it, so it's not as special to us anymore. But like, I always think about that, right? So you get these stratified layers, and that's like what I imagine all the different realms of existence being within like a magical D&D type of world, right? You know, all the different planes, they all exist together within the same all-encompassing container, but they're stratified, they're layers. And so if you want to go from one plane to the next, you have to somehow break through the barrier. You have to somehow defy your natural buoyancy, so to speak, right? Your natural buoyancy will hold you there. Well, the unhinging, the apocalyptic event, is what happens is it's basically as if someone had taken that jar and shook it all up, so that all of the layers got, you know, intermingled, right? All the different, there were tears in reality, creatures were displaced, magical radiation just started spilling into every other realm. Everything just turned into straight chaos, right? And because of this chaos, the world became very dangerous to live in. And the only places that could really survive were the largest cities that were already very well fortified. And that's what these little, you know, we can see them kind of scattered around. You know, we got Phosphik up there. We've got Demai up over here. You know, we've got Mulfafetting down here. You know, come over here. We have Walster down there. We have Bepimat over there. Just all these different cities. Those were the stronghold cities that managed to have both the structure, the foundational structure, and the manpower to survive in this area. So everyone, basically, when that happened, everyone who wasn't in those cities either died, not necessarily, as we find out, you know, through the course of some of these campaigns. Some people managed to find life and survive. But generally speaking, either you died or you fled to one of these cities so that you could survive with the assistance of, you know, a proper guard and proper moats and walls and all that kind of stuff. That's the world that we live in. A couple thousand years have passed since that, a couple millennia. And as what would happen with that jar of water and oil and everything like that, the different layers started to percolate a little bit. You know, they're starting to kind of re-separate a little bit, and that's kind of happening in this world. It's a very slow process, but things are starting to separate. Tears are starting to naturally kind of close up. A lot of the monsters, time has passed, so that displaced monsters are starting to die, and fewer of them are, you know, getting displaced through these tears as they're closing up. So things are getting better, but it's still largely dangerous. So we're at the period that my world and all of the games that I operate, you know, and all of the places that I write takes place in this time in the world where people are beginning to want to rebuild, right? They are wanting to branch out from these cities. They've spent thousands of years in these cities, and maybe it's young idealism, maybe it's the fairy tales that people told of their ancestors living in places outside of these cities. Maybe it's just a natural thing that any humanoid, you know, because they're not all humans, but you know what I mean, wants, is just like that wanderlust there. Whatever it is, people are beginning to venture out more and more, trying to reclaim old cities, trying to discover what was lost. And after a couple thousand years, a lot of stuff has been forgotten, right? And so we basically have this world where there are a few strongholds where society continues, and then we have an entire world of places that are just filled with things that are forgotten. You know, like you'll go to a city and like you might find El Dorado, and it's like it might have been, you know, El Dorado might have been in this. I haven't written in El Dorado, but why shouldn't there be? It's fantasy. We can put whatever we want. But it's like El Dorado is there. And at the time, people might have been like, oh, yeah, it's like really, you know, it's really just Las Vegas, right? It's like it's real, you know, chintzy and just like, ugh, it's just a little too much glit and glam for my taste there. It's a little much City of Gold, right? But time has passed and everyone's forgotten about it. So players might find that, be like, whoa, it's a City of Gold, right? And that's the idea behind this world, is that it's just filled with forgotten cultures. And that's like what that's like what this world was always kind of built around. Because for me, That is just the most fascinating concept, right? The idea of going somewhere that you think has never been touched by humans before. Like, I'm talking about the real world. Going to some place that, like, you know, suppose there's a mountain. Suppose there's a mountain that we find and we're like, or like, even better, let's talk about the oceans. Because so much of the oceans are unexplored. Imagine going down into the oceans to an area that you're like, yeah, no human has ever been here before, right? Like, you know, no human has been here before. And then you go down there and you find the remnants of, like, Rapture from BioShock. And, like, there's no record anywhere in human history of this place existing. And suddenly you find the empty skeleton of an entire underground city. Like, just the questions and the discoveries that would just be just absolutely, that city would be bursting at the seams with. Like, to me, that is one of the most fascinating possibilities, right? It's like, you know, imagine, alternatively, imagine 100,000, whatever years it takes for humans to defy all concepts of physics and become interstellar creatures, and we can travel to planets all the way across the galaxy, across the universe, right? Across the universe. Beautiful, beautiful musical about Beatles music. Anyway, I digress. You know, imagine going to these places and we find not like a society existing of people that we have to suddenly communicate with, but rather a society of creatures that are gone. And so there is nothing but questions, right? Nothing but questions and clues, but no way for us to get answers. Like, that is just one of the most intriguing concepts that anyone could possibly come up with, if you ask me. So that's for me personally, right? Maybe that doesn't resonate with everyone else, but for me, that is just one of the most amazing ideas. And that's what this world is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about going to places that clearly have held life beforehand, but that life is gone. And now you are trying to discover and understand and piece together what happened. Maybe it's so that you can rebuild it. Maybe it's just so that you can find whatever's valuable and make a quick buck. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what the reason is. It's just there's all these fascinating things. There's a million questions and not a single answer, right? And that's like, and that I could sit out. I used to as a kid. I would lay out in the grass at night in the middle of summer for hours and just stare up at the stars, wondering about those things, wondering what types of civilizations are out there and what type of ghosts exist in those civilizations that have, you know, come and gone a billion years ago. It's something about that has always resonated with me, and that's like the drive, and that's like, you know, to kind of bring back to where the you know, today's stream kind of started. I want to remember that wonder. I feel like I've gotten lately in my writing so entrenched in the concept of building a game that I've kind of abandoned that initial wonderment that drove me to start writing and world building in the first place. And I want to find that again, because it just, when I think about how much fun I have when I'm doing that, and that's not to say that I haven't had fun, you know, the past few weeks and months and whatever, it's always been fun to me. That's why I keep doing it. But just like the sense of fascination with my own creations, like I used to be able to tap into this, not used to, I know I still can tap into it, I just haven't, right? But tapping into this idea of like fascinating myself with the things that I came up with, right? Like, I feel like it sounds narcissistic, but I feel like that's what everyone who's creating something should do. Because if you don't have the passion for what you're creating, why on earth would anyone else have passion for it? You know, if you don't even care about what you're creating, why should anyone else care about what you're creating? You know, which is why, you know, I tend to get real cynical about your generic TV show or whatever that's clearly just made to sell money, to make money, to sell product and make money, right? It's kind of like, to me, it's like, golly, like, why should I care about this if the people making it don't even care about it? You know, that's why, and I feel like that's why things like Sundance Film Festival films that have $18 for a budget and get 3 showings will turn into absolute cult classics, right? Because clearly there was no profit in sight when they made that thing. It was 100% for the passion of what they were making. And just like, that's a beautiful thing, and I want to make sure that I'm producing that in my world. So man, oh man, Here, I thought I was going to try and minimize how much I was talking today for the sake of my throat in this cold. Because that one's going out the window. We're gonna sound like an 80-year-old smoker by the end of the day. My throat's gonna be so shredded. And you know what? Normally I'd make the joke about doing it for you guys, and in a lot of ways I am still doing it for you guys, but you know what? Damn it, I'm doing it for myself and my own passion too. I get to do it. I get to do things for me too. And so do all of you. Everyone gets to do things for themselves from time to time. Take care of yourself. You know, the analogy I use all the time is the airplane one. You gotta put your own mask on before it can help other people put their masks on. Right? So do things for you from time to time. Don't be selfish, but occasionally do things for you. Right? I'm talking about my passion for me as much as I am for you guys, because I want to feel it. I want to feel it in myself, dang it. And I do feel it. I actually do really feel a whole lot of excitement and passion about things right now. So thank you for giving me a platform here, all of you. So, with all of that in mind, that's kind of where we can bring ourselves into what is happening in this campaign that we've been working on, right? That concept of re-exploring and rebuilding this world that has been kind of trashed by the unhinging. You know, that's where it all starts. The campaign that we're working on takes place in this hex. Some people are kind of in awe of the concept of having this big of a world and having an entire 10-level campaign take place in one little hex. And for me, it's like, well, yeah, how many people live their entire life not even in one little section, right? One little hex. How many people live their entire life in one little town that would be just at the foot of this mountain, right? How many people live their entire lives there? This hex is a lot of space, right? And that gives us plenty for a campaign. And then just imagine the wonderment then of what else exists in this world. Hey, Gabby, how's it going? Good to see you here. I'm doing okay. A bit of a cold, but mentally enthusiastic and driven today. So we'll call it even. We'll call it even and say it's a pretty good day overall. Cold notwithstanding. So that's where this campaign is taking place. Takes place in here, and it's born of the whole premise for why anyone is down here, where there aren't cities, right? In this world where everything that isn't one of these big cities has been kind of torn apart, is that this city of Fosvik and this city of Malfafetting are trying to map out a safe trade route. Now that things are getting a bit more tameable in the wilds, they're trying to do exactly that and build a trade route. So that way they don't have to spend months going all around here just for like the people of Fosvik to maybe occasionally get a fruit that's native to this part of the world, right? It's like, hey, maybe we can just like have it be a 2-week journey and get that. So our players are part of that effort, right? And they're going down through here, part of the mapping out process, and that's what brings us to, yeah, this is the one that we need. This is the next one, and that's what this pathway here is. That's the progress that's been made so far. You told me about the big bad. I feel like you have actually. I actually feel like I've heard that before. I feel like you've mentioned that before, Gabby. But heck if I know. I don't know. It could be a false memory. Has anyone else ever heard of that? Like, it's actually a thing the brain does. Where it will try and, like, if you don't remember something, it will implant, like, your brain will actually implant false memories in your head to try and fill in that blank, because the brain doesn't like not understanding things. It's why I don't trust myself. Like, I feel like I have a couple memories from my fight that I got knocked out in, but I don't trust that, because I know that the things that I feel like I remember now are different than the things that I was saying I remembered, a day or two after it happened, and it's like a month later. So I don't trust any of my memories. I just assume that I don't actually remember any of it. But at any rate, like a plan from the Underdark, but yeah. You did mention that. You did mention that before. Gabby. I remember you talking about that. It's a cool idea. So our players are part of this, the group that is trying to build this road between the two cities, and what they're trying to do, or rather, while they're trying to do that, what they don't realize is that the Golden Wind Plains which is what, we'll go back to our big area, which is what this whole area here is. This whole area has kind of become the domain of a dragon. It's become the domain of a big old dragon, and they don't know that. Why would they know that? They don't spend their time out there. They spend their time living up in the safe city, right? So they don't know that. So the dragon comes down. The dragon comes down, and he's all like, all right, my territory. Get up on out of here. And everyone who's part of this is like, oh, come on, man. We've already made so much effort. We've already come so far, man. We're just trying to build a road. That's all it is. It's a road. And the dragon's like, okay, all right. Look, listen. One place called the Hall of Wisdom over here. Got some stuff in there that I want. Don't ask me questions. I don't feel like explaining it. All right, but it's got some stuff in there, but it's all locked up with these magical keys. And I can't get in there. I can't get in there without those keys. So, I need y'all to go get said keys for me. And if you do that, I will let you build your road. And so, assuming that our players are good players who are willing to accept the call to adventure, they will go ahead and do that. And so now, to bring it back to kind of the rant that I've been having about really wanting to make sure I'm approaching this from a world building standpoint, right? The world building came in, when we're looking at this, and it comes with the idea that there's a dragon who is kind of taking hold of this stuff, right? So it's like, what would that dragon do if people come in here? Well, the dragon is largely going to say like, no, this is my place. And it's like, what would it take for the dragon to be willing to let people be there? Well, they would have to cut a deal with them. That's kind of like the world building front of it. I have a new big bad. Gabby, you should put that in the Discord, so I can take a closer look at it at some point in time. It's a great place for it to go. I'd love to hear about it. Let's see here. So that's kind of where things start off, and our players will, again, they'll accept the call to adventure, and then go back up here. So there's a small little city here. Okay, something I noticed. I'm gonna derail for just a second. Is it? I feel like there's people in the audience right now who have listened to me enough to know some of my verbal mannerisms. Do I always say small little? Do I always do the double up with that? Because someone pointed out to me, and I never realized I did that. And now I can't stop noticing myself doing it. I'm like, damn, how long have I done that? Have I always done that? I don't know. I have no idea when it started. I don't know why it started. But apparently I do it, and now I recognize it in myself. I'm not embarrassed about it or anything. It's just how I use language. Everyone's got their own verbal mannerisms. I don't know. That's beside the point. At any rate. There's a small little town right there called Novotrogladny. The town was kind of built up by the people who are part of this effort to build this pathway. So that way, rather than having to travel having to have supply convoys, travel for weeks, to go back and forth between Fossvik and here. It's like, oh, they're at this point in time. That cuts down the time quite a bit. They got a little town with some little farms there. They can kind of make up, help supply the forward base. And it's like the idea is that they'll kind of get down to here and maybe do another one right there. And it's like, hey, maybe those will turn into actual cities at some point in time as they're trying to rebuild the world. Who knows? Right? It's all part of the effort of reclaiming the wilds and taming the wilds, so to speak. So that's kind of where that's where things start there. And so from the game standpoint, right, we've got those things for our players to kind of do. They need to find 4 keys. We've kind of decided one was hidden. We've already fleshed it out. One's hidden among the giants up here that live in the mountaintops. Which I love the giants up there because, again, if we're thinking about this from the world building standpoint, right? From the world building standpoint, why are there giants up here? From the game mechanic standpoint, why are there giants up here? Because we need a reason for there to be challenges for our players to face up there. From a world building standpoint, why would they be up there? And so for me, my thought on it really is that the history of the giants is that they've actually been there forever. And they're one of the few, groups of people who weren't largely impacted or displaced by the unhinging. And that's because the giants themselves are so formidable that even with the chaotic of intraplanar creatures coming in, and taking over the world, and is, you know, like they even with all that stuff happening, they're largely unimpacted by it. They can just be there, and they're all like, oh, some big giant, you know, like the Balrog is coming out of the mountains to kill us. That thing is like, you know, George over there is taller than him. He's got better reach. He could probably just box him, and he'll win that fight pretty easily, right? Like, that's the giants up there, so they're largely unimpacted by it. You know, and the fun part about it too is we have this Nikos tribe here, which are like these runty giants who are outcast from like the true blue giant tribes. And like within my world, that's the origins of that's kind of meant to be the origins of the Goliaths. The Goliaths are actually just like really small runty giants is kind of what the idea is. It obviously flies in the face of, you know, the lore as written in D&D, but it's my world and I can do what I want, so suck it. Get off my back. Not that adversarial about it, but that's like the world building concept behind it. Finish your Warforged sub-races lore. That's an awesome goal. That's a really awesome goal. And I love hearing people having goals at the beginning of the week. Like I was ranting about. I think that's great. I think it's great to have like weekly goals and weekly intentions and stuff like that. I know for me, when I actually take the time to do it, it helps. So I think that's awesome. So let's see here. So that's our giants up there. And that's why they're up there and what they're doing up there. And they've got a key up there. And the reason there's a key up there, if we're going with the world building concept here, the reason the key is up there is because the person hiding the key was like, who the hell would bother looking at the giants? Like, who's brave enough to come up here? They don't want to do that. That's insane. No one will ever find this key. And he was right until the player showed up. They didn't assume that there would be an intrepid band as murdery and hobo-y as every group of D&D players. They had no idea. Never stood a chance. Shame. The second key is hidden among the abandoned dwarven city of Cogdoral down here. This city being one that was sort of a dwarven mecca. But when the unhinging happened, inside the mountains were plenty of openings, you know, between planes came to be. It opened up, and the mountains just kind of turned into a pressure cooker of all of this magical chaos and everything going on. And so it just became, even for the tough, durable dwarven people, this became wildly uninhabitable. And so they fled, except for the few that were trapped and couldn't flee. And those ones, due to magical radiation and the like, became the Duragar. And that's what's going on there. That's like the lore, the world building history of why that is the way it is down there. And so, and the reason there was a key down there is because it was hidden with the dwarves intentionally, you know, among their vaults of gold and everything, which everyone knows the dwarves guard quite jealously. And so it's just kind of down there, and that's why that one's there. The next key is going to be up here in Ashran Nalor once we get there with the elves, who are very good at just keeping secrets, and or at least historically weren't super materialistic, so it seemed like a good place to kind of keep that, because they would be like, all right, yeah, we'll keep this key, whatever, I don't care. And they just kind of shove it with all the other things they don't care about. But then again, during the unhinging, the elves left, except for the few that were in some way, shape, or form trapped, or more likely with the elves, they just didn't think it was that big of a deal. And then they became the drow. There's going to be a bunch of chaotic stuff that happens there, but we'll get there. We're not quite there yet, because what we're working on right now, the first step before that, which is the city of Minadala, where there's a teleportation circle that was largely, like, that was the way to travel through the mountains between this city and the plains over here, back when, you know, that's what people were doing before the unhinging and everything became, well, unhinged. So that's kind of where we're at. It's kind of where we're at with this stuff. And we're going to work more on Minadala here. And I'm excited about that because, like I say, I'm really excited to really care about building the city of Minadala. Like, I am building a game, yes, but I want to think more about, what is this city? Why is it here? Why is it the way it is? And what does that mean for our players as they're going through there? So we're going to work on that But first, I need to go to the bathroom again. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to fill up my beverage. I'll be right back. I appreciate you guys' patience. Yeah, sit tight. Sit tight. It'll be very quick, I promise. All right. I'm back. I'm gonna beg your forgiveness. I am. I'm gonna. I have a Halls with me. Hold on a second. I gotta adjust my blanket. 1 second. My big butt keeps like pulling the blanket down, and I can feel it adjusting. Like I can tell it's getting too low when my headrest gets out of place. So, you'll have to forgive me. I have a cough drop. I have a Halls. As this cold. This cold's kicking my booty. But I feel like I got the good headspace and I'm on a roll here for streaming. And I want to keep going, so I need to take care of my my voice for a little bit here. Before we move on, I did notice, Gabby, you had a few comments in there that I missed just because I was on a roll explaining things. I wanted to get through that, so let me just see what we got here. On the mechanics of the cold sub races, you are a sub race wizard, Gabby. You come up with so many different unique sub races. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. I mean, that's awesome. As someone who, as I say it all the time, who struggles to wrap his head around always knowing exactly how to balance things from scratch, I think it's awesome that you're able to do that. All right. Oh my gosh, I apologize. I am so phlegmy and gross right now. I take pro tip. If you have just like a minor cold, like I do right now, and like really your only symptoms are like the mucus, the scratchy throat or the runny nose and stuff like that. Pro tip: get yourself some allergy meds. Don't worry about the cold meds. Get yourself some allergy meds. Like the cold meds are really good if you also have like the muscle aches and stuff, because they always include some sort of like ibuprofen or acetaminophen or something like that, right? So it can be really good for that kind of stuff. But if all you're having is like the drainage, like I've got right now, like I feel fine if it, other than that I feel like I've got a million spiders biting my throat, and I feel like my nose will turn into a faucet any second now. Get some allergy meds. And when I say get some allergy meds, I don't mean go to the store and find that stuff that's sitting on the over-the-counter stuff. I mean, it's all over the counter. But, like, the stuff that you can just walk to the aisle on your own, grab it, and go. No. That's not. No. The pro tip: go to the pharmacy counter and tell them that you want actual Sudafedrin. Like, not Sudafed brand. There's the Sudafed brand that might not always include Sudafedrin, right? No. Get yourself the real Sudafedrin. I'm talking about the stuff that's so powerful that people at some point in time figured out how to cook it up and make meth with it. Now, I'm not telling you to do meth. Please don't do that. It's a horrible idea. You'll ruin your life. Don't do that. But get the Sudafedrin and take it according to the directions, because that stuff is beautiful. It'll give you very strong mucus control for however many hours the capsule you get. They'll sell it in 6, 12, and 24-hour increments usually. So pro tip, do that. Oh my gosh, it won't get rid of the symptoms, but boy, oh boy, does it make them a lot better. The reason I'm mentioning that is because I'm getting towards the end of the cycle of the dose that I'm on right now, and so I still gotta, like, I'm right at that point where the effects are going to start wearing off, but I still can't take a new dose quite yet. I got to wait a couple more hours before I'm clear to take a new dose. Because it's not just about, because they'll always say, take a dose every 4 to 6 hours, but there's also the warning there, don't take, basically usually what it turns into is don't take more than 4 doses in a single day. So if you do the math on that, that means to have all day coverage, you have to wait every 6 hours, even though you can theoretically take more after 4 hours, right? But it's like, I want that full day coverage. So I'm right at that point where 4 hours have passed, so the efficacy is wearing down. I gotta wait a couple more hours before I can take another dose. So I don't know why I brought that up, other than it's very relevant in my life. But the halls can help with that scritchy throat, and that's why I'm sitting here sucking on that sucker. Not sucker, it's a cough drop. Cough drops are basically suckers without sticks, though, aren't they? Like, they got that hard candy vibe going on, don't they? Oh, I always think about them. Anyway, another question for the another question. This is just kind of like a rhetorical question, though. If you want to answer, you can go ahead and we can set up a debate, set up a poll. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. Does anyone else enjoy the taste of cough drops? Like, some people will legitimately eat them like candy. I don't know that I would go that far, but like I enjoy a cough drop. It's refreshing. It's got a bit of that cherry flavor to it. Some people think it's absolutely disgusting. It's just got that nasty medicine taste, which it definitely has a medicine taste to it, but I don't know. I always wonder if it's kind of like one of them things, kind of like coffee, where it's kind of more of an acquired taste, where it's like if you can key into the benefits of it, it starts making the taste easier to deal with until eventually you like it, right? I don't know. I like coffee a lot. Some people just can't stand it. Whatever. We're world building right now. What the hell am I talking about? Minadala. City of Minadala. This is a cool city. It's a cool city. I'm having fun with it, even if I've kind of lost focus on the world building side of it a little bit. So we've been working on all of our different, let's pull up our Minadala map here, which we're not going to use this a whole lot. I have been kind of adjusting within the other project that I'm working on, I've kind of been adjusting my philosophy and my approach to designing maps and building worlds. And I'm quite pleased with it, but I don't I don't want to sit here and reinvent the wheel. We've got maps that'll work. Not just in a sense like, I guess it'll do. Like, they're good. They're good maps. They're maybe not exactly in line with the style that I'm kind of shifting towards, but, you know, like, sometimes it's just how it goes. Like, you don't see musicians getting hung up on re-recording the same album 17 times because their taste in music changes, you know, over the course of a career. Like, that would just be a waste of time. I'm sorry, my chair is, like, sliding where I don't want it. I'm bumping my desk all over the place. No, so I'm not going to redo it. But I expect I'm going to be designing my maps a little differently in the future. But for now, we'll keep this as it is. We're designing some of the areas in Minadala. And the reason for our players traveling around is because they need to get a teleportation circle, which they need they need the help from the wizard, who surprises everyone by still being alive, and it becomes clear to players as they go that this guy isn't just like a wizard who moved in a couple years ago. This wizard's been here with this city since before the unhinging, which was a couple thousand years ago, and I don't care what race you are, that's a long time. Long time, a lot longer than most people would naturally live, especially during the unhinging. So it raises, presumably that'll raise some eyebrows, and our players will kind of learn more of that as they go. And I want to key in on that idea a little bit more as we're writing, because I feel like, you know, to kind of keep on the discussion topic of my focus on why I'm writing having changed a little bit, you know, or just rather more so just that my focus on why I'm writing hasn't been there, right? I've been kind of unfocused. I've been kind of just going through the motions, and I know that makes it sound dismissive and like I haven't been trying or caring, and that's not true. But it's not been my prime writing mindset, which I mean, you know, that can impact the quality of your writing, and like upon review it kind of makes me feel like, I could have done better. I could have been doing more. I could have done better. And so I want to key in a bit more on that background as we're writing these areas and adding our details as we're going in. But basically, what's going on is our players are working with, well, rather the wizard is instructing our players on what they need to collect throughout the city so that he can rebuild the teleportation circle that they're looking for. And so that's kind of what we're traveling around about here. And we're presently working on this area here, which is a temple. And this is, so maybe this is a really good example of kind of what I'm talking about where my mentality has been different. And I know I'm really belaboring that point, but like, to go along with the whole point I've been making this whole time, me explaining these things is as much for me to sort of recenter and refocus my writing. Pro tip, and Enviro pro tip. That's what I'm gonna start calling it. We'll get like a little, you know, smash cut scene that's like Enviro pro tip, right? Like, I don't even remember what the tip I was gonna say was. Oh yeah, my tip is this half sarcastic but also half legitimate. So, you know, if it works for you, take it. If it doesn't work for you, don't feel like you have to try. Feel free to talk to yourself out loud. Like, maybe to some people that sounds really obvious. But yeah, don't be afraid to just like say things out loud. The amount of times when I'm just walking, because I live alone, right? The amount of times that I just walk around and babble to myself, it kind of doesn't stop. Which feeds into the whole concept of why I don't listen to myself, because God, who has the energy to listen to that much babbling? But yeah, say things out loud to yourself. Explain things to yourself. You'd be surprised at how much more complete your own thoughts are, and how much like and how much more clearly you approach things, and how much better you understand things when you take the time to explain them to yourself. Like, it's so much easier to logic and puzzle your way through things. If you take the time to do that, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. So, you know, that's kind of why I'm explaining these things to you guys, because you're just like a convenient audience for me to be directing all of the random crap that I'd really just be saying out loud to myself otherwise. So congratulations, you're a borderline captive audience. Have fun. Oh, goodness. Cough drop has gone too soon. Why do the good die young? My throat does feel a whole lot better, though. I got the good time. Again, okay. Enviro Pro tip. Here we go. I'm adopting it. I'm using it. I'm using it forever. Enviro Pro tip. When you're getting cough drops, again, don't cheap out and get the cheap shit. Okay? Get the good stuff with menthol in it. Get that refreshing feeling in there. It makes a difference. It does. So it was cherry flavored, but my mouth is as fresh, my throat is as cool as if I had been chewing 5 gum. How it feels to chew 5 gum. Someone just like shoves an icicle down my throat. Okay. By pure happenstance, the crystal light packet that I always pull them out. Like, I just keep a big pile of all of the different crystal lights just to kind of keep variety going. Like, I've got different flavors and stuff, and by pure happenstance, I pulled out the cherry pomegranate. Gotta be honest, cough drop was cherry. This was cherry. Not the same flavor. I don't care that they both say cherry on them. They are not the same flavor. Very different. I'm noticing it hardcore. It's not quite as bad as like toothpaste and orange juice or something like that, but just, yeah. Weird. Taste buds are weird. Life is weird. Anyways. So I feel like I've been losing my focus. Like, a really good example, this temple is a really good example of how my focus and the reasons I've been writing have been different, and maybe not necessarily true to myself on how I do this. Because when I think about what I've written for this temple, we've got a lot of rooms written up, but I don't think I have any idea about who this temple was built to worship. I haven't thought about that at all. I have no idea. This temple solely exists because I needed a temple to design. Because I decided that I wanted some, you know, some sort of like semi-magical, semi-holy symbols. I'm not thought about it at all. And frankly, I'm a little disappointed in myself for not having thought about that, right? Because that's the type of thing, I feel like that type of thing, like understanding those details, are what make my writing uniquely mine. Not going to say that it makes it good. Not going to say that it makes it better or worse than this, that, or the other person's. It's what makes my writing mine. And that's not to say that other people don't take the same methods to make their writing theirs. Right? But when I'm writing, what makes me care about the places I'm writing, and therefore makes it easy for others to care about the things that I'm writing, is the understanding of why everything exists. Everything exists in my world for a reason. Even if that reason is made up because I need it, right? Like, there's no going around it. There's kind of a snake eating its own tail situation here of like, well, I'm creating this because I need it for my players. Well, my players need it because it exists in the world, but it exists in the world because I need it for my players, but my players need it because it exists in the world, right? It's this infinity loop going on here. No doubt about that. But that doesn't mean that this doesn't have a purpose for existing in the world. Like, it should have a purpose. Like, it's going to start feeling transparent and just bad if things start existing only because I need them to exist for people to explore. No, that's lazy. That's lazy and unacceptable to me. I can do better, and I'm going to do better, right? This church, this temple exists because someone somewhere wanted to worship a god or goddess, right? That's why this thing exists. So I got to think about that. I got to think about who's being worshipped here and why. Now, sorry. And man, I'm like, when I get all passionate and worked up, I forget to keep my voice chill and not shredded to hell and back. Oh man, I picked a bad day to get all passionate and preachy, didn't I? It's like, I've got a cold. It's making my throat hurt. I should just get really impassioned and start speaking with extra volume and intensity. Solid decision making right there. You know what? Sometimes passion just can't be stopped. This is just what we have to do. I'm gonna try to practice my smooth jazz radio host. I'll bring the mic up nice and close right here so I can just talk in a nice low voice. And I'll sit here with my shoulders cocked at an angle that makes me one cool cat as I'm talking. And it'll give off the vibe as though I actively wanted my audience to go to sleep, even though that's entirely deleterious to my intended goal of having you listen to the things I'm presenting on this radio. Enjoy these smooth jazz tunes as you drive down the highway, a place that would be very dangerous for you to fall asleep. Again, the thing that my very voice, the very selection of my music might encourage you to do. You're listening to Envi Radio 101.69 because 69 is the funny number. Alright, I'm done with that. That's dumb. I don't know, that was actually kind of fun. Just talking like this. Feeling like I'm going to swallow the mic. Okay, anyway. We can find a healthy medium between those two absurd existences. Is there such a thing? Would the healthy medium between two absurd existences also be absurd? Like, what's halfway between absurd and absurd? Absurd, right? Like saying, yeah, we'll find a healthy medium between 10 and 10. 10. Same thing. Just a different type of absurd. The whole conversation is absurd. I'm stuck in a loop. No. Who is this church for? What the hell am I writing? Why are we here? What's my motivation? Why do I care about what I'm doing? Let's go ahead and search for a little bit of inspiration. We got D&D Beyond pulled up here. Let's Pantheon. Let's just see if there's something written there. Kind of works for us. My original thought actually is to kind of dive into some sort of Celtic something or other actually. Because whether I've intended to do it, Celtic or Norse would work. Right? But because whether or not I intended to do it, well, and you know, I guess I can just say I'm the one who has done it. I know exactly what my intentions were. It didn't happen intentionally. I think it happened because I've been approaching this temple without any sort of focused idea on what I was writing, right? Like on what this temple was or why I was making it, because I didn't have any sort of focus whatsoever on it. I kind of just defaulted to what is a familiar form of worship, which, as someone who grew up in a family that largely, at least for a while, identified as Catholic, I would say everyone in my family these days would largely agree that they don't really identify as Catholic anymore. Changing philosophies and stuff. I can't speak to the rest of my family. I can say that I drifted away from the Catholic Church as early as high school when I started questioning why I was supposed to hate someone just because he was a boy who liked boys. But it's an entirely different coming-of-age story that we won't bother getting into today. I guess I do got to bring my mic a little closer now. I'm actually keeping my voice down here. But oh shoot, no, now it's getting up there. God damn it, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to blow out your eardrums. It's just happening. Okay, the point is, there's a certain natural affinity I have towards thinking of worship as being a go to church, pray to Jesus type of thing, right? And I don't necessarily mean that sarcastic. I know it comes out sort of sarcastic. I don't actually have a problem with people being religious. I mean, I feel like oh man, I'm really heading towards some dangerous waters. Look, be religious, believe in whatever you want. Just don't use that as an excuse to hate other people. Because I feel like what I've understood, what I've read about Jesus is that is entirely not what he wanted you to do with his message. Just like, you know, try to remember that different people believe in different things. And as long as ultimately it gets us to be good people who treat each other well, who cares? You know, let us find meaning where we find meaning. Anyway, digression aside, I feel like that's kind of where my natural mindset of what a church is or what a temple is, because that's what the familiarity is. I've never been to a mosque personally. Not like, you know, any sort of trying to avoid it. I've just never had reason to. You know, never been to a synagogue. You know, I've only been to like a Catholic and maybe like a couple other denominations of Christianity's churches based on like going to other people's weddings and stuff like that. So I've kind of defaulted to treating this temple that way. Put in, arbitrarily kind of put in a baptismal fountain with holy water in there. I've put in confessionals, right? There's like the motif of candles being everywhere. God, like the only thing I haven't put there is a creepy model of a cross with a fake Jesus nailed to it, which I always thought was kind of a gruesome. Even before I was drifting away from the church, it was kind of a gruesome thing to like plaster up. It's like, hey, remember when our Messiah was murdered? Let's immortalize it. Yeah. All right, it's weird, right? It's weird. I don't know. Whatever. I should really tread lightly. This is a very good conversation topic to get a lot of people very pissed off at me. At any rate, I've kind of been drifting towards that accidentally with this temple, and I feel like honestly, I mean, like it's hard because in a lot of ways things like Celtic or Norse pantheons would be considered very like paganistic and heathenistic to modern day Catholics, but the flip side of it is modern day Catholicism, right, has sort of taken a lot of those things and rebranded, repurposed them, right? The Christmas tree. Everyone loves at Christmas time having that debate about whether or not a Christmas tree is a pagan thing or not, which I think it's a silly argument because it started off that way, and then then Christianity took it and made it their own thing. That's like literally how culture works. We find things that we like, and we use them. At any rate, it's like there are so many aspects of the church that have been taken from these sort of like more so Northern European, especially, paganistic rituals and stuff that to me, I feel like there's a certain, whether or not people would want it to exist, there's a certain kinship between, this concept of the Celtic pantheon and what ultimately is like, Christianity and Catholicism, right? So if I'm making a Catholic church on accident, I feel like if I want to try and, without having to rewrite everything I've already done, turn this into someplace that actually has a functional lore with like, like a pantheon of gods, I feel like going Celtic would work. That said, there's no reason for me to not have it be a temple of worship for like a Catholic oriented religion, right? Like, why is it that we'll happily include most religions and pantheons in the D&D pantheon, but like the existing religion will say no? Is it because I guess I can know exactly why wizards wouldn't do it, because it's a real big risk of pissing everyone else off, right? The Christianity folks would be super mad about the religion being used in a devil game, and every other religion would be really mad because why are they so special? We want to be in there too. So there's no reason that I can't have it be canon in my game that it's a church for worshiping Jesus and that he's an actual figure within my world that does stuff. Like, why should I be afraid of that? Right? It's my world. I can do what I want. I don't think I'm going to do that. But it's because I don't want to. I like the idea of there being a pantheon, and I feel like, and maybe I'm answering my own question about why they don't do it. Because Catholicism is decidedly not really a pantheon, right? There's not many. It's singular. It's monotheistic. It's definitionally not a pantheistic. So this is my reason, and I guess this is just all of me explaining out loud. Like, I'm doing a lot of babbling and explaining out loud. This is what I mean when I say talk to yourself. Explain these things out loud, because as I'm going and hearing my own voice kind of discuss these things, I'm kind of gaining my own clarity about how I want this temple to be, what I want it to be, what I want it to look like. And I'm drifting towards maybe, altering a few details to have it be some sort of like, focused on some sort of Celtic thing. And I feel like that would make sense, right? Something wild lurks in the heart of every soul, a space that thrills the sound of geese calling at night, the whispering wind through the pines, the unexpected red of mistletoe in an oak. And it is in the space that the Celtic gods dwell. They sprang from the brook and stream, their might heightened, and by the strength of the oak, the beauty of the woodlands, an open moor. And the first forester dared put a name to the face seen in the bole of a tree, or the voice babbling in a brook, these gods forced themselves into being. Celtic gods are as often served by druids as by clerics, where they are closely aligned with the forces of nature that druids revere. I think that works. And here's why. Because it's my world and I say it does. I mean, that's true, but think about where this church exists, right? So, like, you know, here's me kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit on how I like to write a lot of this stuff and where my ideas come from. Like, think about this world at large, right? We've got our Golden Wind Plains here. Like, Celtic, obviously, with those examples given, and just thinking about the Celtic mythology and where it originates, you know, that Northern European locale, right? It on the surface, it's going to make sense for that type of religion to take place in these forested areas, right? That's where there's that going to be that kinship. Think about where we're located here, right? We're in a city that's in, you know, at the feet of the mountains right here. One of the big draws of this area is just like the natural rolling golden plains. Why wouldn't, if we're assuming that the gods, you know, are beings that transcend the concept of mortal country boundaries and stuff like that, why wouldn't a god of a babbling brook within the forest here also be the same one that respects the babbling brook of a mountain creek going down and meeting up with the Golden Wind Plains here, right? I think that makes perfect sense. And I think that actually speaks to me a little bit. The concept of a Celtic god also existing in a more, you know, what we might think of as like an African type of setting, right? Like, I think that means a whole lot. I think that's a really cool concept. I think you almost have to consider it, especially if you believe in it. Because if you believe in that religion, if you believe in these gods, it would be ridiculous to not believe that they could have influence and presence beyond, you know, where the first church was. And that's the concept. Like, how weird would it be if I believed, you know, if I believed in a god and I was like, this god is the all-powerful god, this is the god of all gods, but not over there. No, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If I actually believed that, if this God was actually all-powerful, of course I would believe that that God is all-powerful, you know, here or there or anywhere else. I think it makes a lot of sense for there to be a temple for something that might be considered a forest-centric pantheon to exist around here. But the hiccup there, let's think about where does that religion fit within my world, right? And this is where we can start going into, you know, maybe our pantheon here, right? And the way I like to organize all of it, the way I really like to organize all of it is by the different realms, and then taking the pantheons and putting them in there, you know, putting them where they belong within all of these areas here. So what I want to think about here, then I've got a whole lot of empty spaces here. But what I'd like to think about here, and I'm taking some time, and so here's one thing that I will say. I'm just going to address this now because the thought kind of crossed my mind here. I'm obviously writing at a much slower pace when I do things this way. When I'm doing this detailed world building for myself, if you're on a time crunch, for the love of God, do not write things the way I like to write them. There's a reason I'm writing this campaign while I am not needing it or running it. Right? Because this is how I write. And this is how my mind goes when I'm really letting myself get into it the way that I'm passionately concerned about what I'm writing, right? So it's like that's the trade-off. I was much more productive when I was writing a game rather than building a world. There's no doubt about that. So if you need a game, then don't do what I'm doing. I'm just addressing that right now because I know it's on my mind, so I'm sure it's on someone else's mind, right? But I'm not here trying to write a game. I'm trying to write a world, right? That's what I'm trying to do right now. So this is very slow, but I'm having a lot more fun with this right now. I'll just be perfectly honest about it. So what I kind of want to do here is I want to Cities of Dragonlance, Greyhawk, Forgotten Realms. I don't want to see here. Do they? I don't think they have a list here in the D&D. But what I'd like to do: Good, Evil, Dark 6, Face of Everon, non-human deities. Instead. Here we go. Yes, they do have the list right here. I want to see Celtic deity of, like, see what all of these are, right? The symbols or the deity, the god of life and death, god of weather and crops, things like that. I want to find one that fits, right? Because that's going to make the most sense. So immediately, I actually like this idea. The deity, Dagda. Celtic is tough because the pronunciations make no sense. You cannot assume that the phonetic pronunciation using, English lettering actually makes any sense. You cannot assume that that's accurate. This one's not terrible. God of weather and crops. I could see that being there. Rivers and livestock would also be a good one. Brigantia. Goddess of rivers and livestock. I like that one a lot, actually. When we look at our map, got a river right going by the outside there, right? One Celtic river goes around the outside, on the outside. Stupid. What a weird, ill-fitting reference for me to make right there. But we could do that one. I like that idea. I like that. Oops, wrong. Mountains and peaks would also be a really good one. The nature domain. Red sun-capped mountain peak. That one might almost even be better. Because then we can think about, too, if we want to add a bit more clarity, right? This is the temple. It's not by the river. It would make sense for Brigantia. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. Please don't pronounce it the way I am. Like literally you have a better chance. It's like the door puzzle one where it's like, right, you got like there's three doors. Behind two of them is a donkey and behind one of them is a car. You pick one door and they open one of the doors. So it's like, okay, all right. I don't know if anyone's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to explain this one. I want to explain this to people. And it's an interesting one because it includes fallacy as well as statistical truth, right? You have three doors. Behind two of them is a donkey, and behind one of them is a sports car. It can be any two not great things and one really great thing, right? Ignoring the sarcastic response. If I'd love to have a pet donkey, let's be real, because if you have a sports car, you can sell that and you can have 1 million pet donkeys. Don't be an ass. Unlike the donkeys. Got it. I did that. I was building that one. Okay, for real. Three doors. Behind two of them are a donkey. Behind one of them is a sports car. You pick one door, right? Because your goal is to ultimately pick the door with the sports car. Because you get whatever's behind that door. You pick one of the doors. Now, they don't open the door that you picked. Well, first off, just keep in mind, you have a 1 in 3 chance. You have a 33% chance of picking the correct door, right? You have a 33.3 repeating, of course, Leroy Jenkins, chance of picking the correct door. You pick that door. They don't open the door that you picked. Instead, they go to one of the other doors, revealing there was a donkey behind it, right? So now, you can either choose to keep the door that you picked in the first place, or you can switch doors, right? So you can either have whatever's behind the door you picked in the first place, or you can have what's behind the other door. Should you change, or should you keep it the same? The argument goes that you should always switch, because initially, the door that you picked had a 33% chance of having a donkey. Now, picking that other door has a 50% chance of picking the sports car, right? So it's like, so the concept is that because they revealed the other one, you now have greater odds. If you pick the other door, you have greater odds of picking the one with the sports car. Now, does that actually happen? And here's where the concept of like, does it actually matter, or is there fallacy involved there? Because the fact is maybe that means you have a 50% chance of picking the door with the car now. But keep in mind two things. One is that by staying at the same door, you're still picking a door between those two. Because either way, you have a 50% chance of choosing the one with the car, right? And the other thing is, just because we've removed one of them from the pool doesn't mean when they were setting up, the odds weren't different. The odds were different. There's still only a 33% chance that the car is behind that door. So that's where it gets kind of confusing. I don't remember why I brought that up. I don't remember what I was talking about. I brought that up. But it's an interesting thing. I don't even remember why I brought that up. It's an interesting concept. I don't know if people have heard that before. I remember that in a statistics class. And I still remember that. Those statistics in high school. That was like 2008. 2009. 2009 was when I was in that statistics class. At any rate. All right. Nice. Good progress, Gabby. Good progress. You should put the art up in the Discord. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it at some point. All right. Yeah, so with our church being right there, I actually think, oh, I remember why I brought it up. Because I'm mispronouncing. I know I'm mispronouncing the Brigantia. And it's like, don't pronounce it the way I did, because odds are I'm pronouncing it wrong. So you have better odds of getting it right if you just intentionally pronounce it differently than I am. That's why I brought it up. Wow, what a stupid, pointless example for that whole long description, explanation. Oh my god, that's funny. No, I think I want to go with this guy, Donatus. Donatus, because I feel like I can pronounce that one. That one seems like it makes sense. Donatus. Yeah, I like that. It's just the god of mountains and peaks. It's like right at the base of the mountains. I think that's perfect. So let's go to our notes page here. And I'm going to actually put it here, because we have like nothing written right here, which is meant to be where I'm kind of putting the description of our place. So we'll say temple built to worship Natus. And what we'll do is Celtic god of mountain. Perfect. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna keep expanding on that, but I really need to go to the bathroom again. I'm doing a real good job of keeping those fluids flowing. I'm proud of myself, but I have to pee again. It's a lot. I know. I'm sorry. I appreciate your patience. Alright, I'm back. Ah, thank you for your patience. Much appreciated. Just as Twitch. The horse mansion, it's very horsey. No, it went well. It went well. I think that one's in a good spot. I like that one. I like that one how it is. It should be a fun one for players. We got some fun, interesting kind of puzzles and stuff there, and kind of ended up with some kind of goofy, silly lore for that one that I was pretty pleased with. So, have I run it yet? No, I'm actually not running this campaign at all. I'm just writing this one for fun. One day, I'm sure I'll write it or run it. I'm sure, but I kind of you missed the good part of me talking for an entirely long time about why I write things. It's entirely too long. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe some people found it helpful. The point is, I'm a world builder before I am a DM, or at least that's how I view myself. So writing these things, like I write them in the format of being a campaign so that they can be run as games, but really I do it just because I like creating worlds. I just like writing down worlds and imagining and inventing places. So no, I haven't run it yet. One of these days I probably will, but I have not presently. And there are not presently any immediate plans to do so. I just like writing. I just like creating things. This is fun. Let's see here. For building on the micro or macro level, I don't know if I have a preference about one or the other. I have a lot of fun with both. I like thinking about the big picture of things and kind of imagining, where things come from on like up to, on a big worldwide scale. But I also love kind of getting down into the weeds of and the details of writing very specific things and getting into fine details. I think all of it, I guess it's just because all of it is equally valuable in creating a believable, realistic, engrossing world. And that's just really what I like. I like making a world that feels like it could be real. Not like real as in like, oh yeah, it works in physics for their magic, but like, like a world that like you can really see and imagine and feel it. Start big picture and go out. Yeah, I mean, I think they're both perfectly valid. I guess like from that perspective, I tend to start big and zoom in the lens. But I think a lot of that's because I've already created the big, right? I've already created my world at large, and so whenever I'm writing anything different, it's like I'm zooming into like a specific area. So it's just kind of what I've already got done. But no, I think both are perfectly valid ways to approach it. It just kind of depends on how your brain works, Just depends on what makes sense in that little brain space we all got. Oh my gosh. My throat is killing me. But we're gonna keep going. I wanna keep going. We got like an hour left. I want to get some more stuff done. I want to keep writing, man. I'm feeling good. I'm having a fun time with this. I'm really enjoying today's writing process here. So okay, so we're gonna have this temple be temple to Donatus. Who the hell is Donatus? I wanna try and do a little bit of research and understand this guy. So we're just gonna go ahead and Donatus, Celtic god. Look at that. And also 5e and D&D finish. Apparently that's the only reason anyone knows who this guy is. Why not? Let's start at the Forgotten Realms wiki. Let's see what they have to say about these things. This is that of a rather ordinary-looking human male. She's just a dude. Gosh, man, story of Northern European religions, am I right? But just a normal human dude. Allegedly one of the most approachable members of the Pantheon, as he found himself rarely called upon due to his portfolio. He was even known to prefer spreading the word of his faith himself. Look at, he's a real go-getter, not afraid to pound the pavement. He's a real man of the man. Right, man of the people, excuse me. He's a man's man of the people. Abilities, was immune to charm, paralysis, and petrification effects. That's oddly specific when talking about something from the Pantheon. Most notable power of Donatus was to flatten large mountains into flat plains and vice versa. The effect occurred instantaneously and was often utilized to destroy an enemy's fortifications. Yeah, it could be kind of dickish. He could also manifest boulders in thin air and throw them with great accuracy at targets up to 1,000 yards away. Donatus owned a shield and a set of armor. An interestingly specific sort of stuff. Like, you would think that if the sword or the shield and the set of armor was like of note, that they would have special abilities. Oh, I guess they're +4 enchantment. Okay, all right, I take it back. I just stopped reading too soon. That's why they say to finish reading the instructions before taking the test. Learn from my mistakes. He always donned when entering combat. Kingdom of Bakar, survivor state of the Maskar Empire, a city known as Medinat Muskawun, housed temples of gods and fays, the populous ancestors. I'm not as concerned about that stuff. Outlands, the divine realm, Tir Naog. Own divine realm within Tir Naog was vast. I don't want the citation. Was a vast mountain on its fringe. Pinnacle, though just a single mountain. Pinnacle's terrain varied considerably across its surface from nearly flat areas to sheer steep rocks. Over slopes, worshippers, some Rilmani. It claimed to have been the one responsible for the creation of the spire that stood at the center of the Outland. All right. Gotta be a random encounter. Yeah, he's one of those gods that like he just kind of chills out, like, and you might just cross paths with him and like you would never know. You would never know unless you're already one of his worshippers or something like that. And like he wouldn't try to hide it. He'd just be like, "Yeah, my name's Dunatus. How's it going?" Like, "Oh yeah, what do you do?" "Oh, just I guess you could call me a bit of a miner or something. I work with mountains and stuff." Like super humble about it. All right, this is easy. A minor interloper deity? That seems a little dismissive. You interloper. Very hands-on god. Exactly. I apologize if my voice is getting quiet. I'm definitely feeling the shred of the cold and talking for 3 hours, so I'm trying to keep my voice low so I don't blow it out and not be able to talk at work tomorrow or anything. All right, temple. Okay, so let's make this a bit more poetic in how we write it. This temple was this temple was built to worship. 3 hours and 1 minute. I apologize. 3 hours and 1 minute. I appreciate you really being on top of it for me. Because clearly my attention span is not covering it. This temple was built to worship Dunatus. And what we'll say a god of mountains. Dunatus, a god of mountains and terrain, is what we'll say. Jack Frosty, there you go. Sounds great. Sounds beautiful. Fits with the blue. I don't know if you chose blue as your title color, but that's what it's showing up as me. A nice wintry blue. Let's say this temple was built to worship Dunatus, the god of mountains and terrain. Then the temple was often said that the city of Inadala itself was built where a mountain once stood. It was said. I'm just riffing all this off the cuff, just so everyone knows. I have no idea what I'm just letting it all flow out of me right now. That's first off what she said, and also I'm sorry. I will never say that again. It came out very, very strangely. I can see it. So it was said that Dunatus wanted a new place for his worshippers to live close to his home in the mountains. So he flattened one of the fringe mountains so that they may build the city. Most view this as more of a metaphor. Metaphor. spelled it like every wrong way possible first. See, this is more of a metaphor than a literal story. Either way, it gave worshippers comfort to think of their deity, this deity living so close to their home. Boom, there we go. And something so amazing or so amazingly stupid thought holy shit balls. Yeah, like literally every night. That's the beauty of D&D. That's the beauty of D&D. My players consistently surprise me. Like the time one of my players decided he wanted a pet owl, and so rather than going to the pet store, a literal store that I invented and described to him, he decided to go around town and find an owl that was living in someone's barn so that he could have a barn owl. He insisted upon it. That was a really good one. I'm trying to think. There was another one that was really good. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it was like kind of amazing. It was more so luck than anything else. But there was one player who did like call lightning or whatever on a group of creatures and rolled so well on the damage that he killed 6 enemies, in an entire party of 6 enemies that were hunting them in a single turn. And he was the first action. So he basically created the scene where it's like these guys like jump out at the players and are like, we're going to, you know, like they jump out the players are like, we're gonna kill you. And then one guy was basically like, nope, and just like snapped his fingers and just like the entire just like dead from a single bolt of lightning immediately. It was great. Punching orphans. I've had people try to just randomly kidnap children and stuff like that in games. Yeah, no, that's a given. That's a given. That's the beauty of D&D. That's what players do. 100% what they do every time. That's why I love it. Alright, so let's hear. This is more of a metaphor than a literal story. Either way, it gave worshippers comfort to think of their deity living so close to their home. Among the standard rituals in the temple were things... let's see here. I'm gonna rephrase it. Generally, the worshippers within this group were of a humble and calm mindset. Humble and calm mindset. Frequently, worshippers would choose to be baptized in a basin kept at the church, said to be filled with water that is melted snow, the cap of the mountain that was flattened, kept holy by Donatus, Donatus divine power itself. Divine. Yeah, so it's like you can get baptized within, like, you know, the concepts that it would be like mountain water. It'd be kind of interesting if it's like, you know, and like the question is always like, is it actually that way or is it just like prestidigitation type of thing, right? But it's like holy water that's blessed, and maybe it's like kept pure. Actually, we'll say kept pure and ice cold by Donatus' divine power himself. I like that. I like that idea. It's like, and again, it's like, is the leader of the church that keeps it keeps it cold, or is it like actually divinity from Donatus? I like that idea. I think that's a cool one. Hi Gabby, glad to have you back. Glad you made it back. Hopefully the PC's doing okay. Freezing is not a great thing. Being ice cold. they would regularly partake in a form of confession in which they would view the path to redemption from their wrongdoings as mountains that could be made flatter by the grace of Donatus, should they properly repent and earn his assistance. I don't know. Kind of trying to make some stuff up here that would like seem feasible for them to do in a religion, and like in a few ways I'm kind of trying to like retrofit a little bit some of the stuff we've already put in there. We already put the confessional booths, we already put the baptismal fountain in there, so we can kind of describe these as things. You just got to like relate it to a mountain, right? It's not that hard to do. Basically what I'm saying is I'm creating a religion, and you are all now my first parishioners. You must make a donation to the church, otherwise you will go to hell. Sorry. You know, that's the way it works. Once you're aware, there's no turning back. That's why missionaries are so sinister. All of the tribal folks who never knew about God or Jesus would have been welcomed into heaven until they told them about it, and now they're all doomed. Custom of flattening a pile of dirt. Oh my god, I love that. I love that. Or maybe it's like they make their own. Maybe it's like they do a pilgrimage and they have to bring like a mountain rock back. And it's like, and that's them flattening the mountain, right? They like climb up a hill or something like that. They find a rock and bring it down, and that's them symbolically like taking the peak of the mountain and bringing it down to like sea level, right? That's them symbolically flattening the mountain, just as Donatus once did. Yeah, exactly. You like that one? Yeah, I think they're all good. Maybe flattening the dirt is what they do every Sunday. Well, no, they worship on Saturdays. Saturday is Donatus' day of rest because he likes Saturdays better. I like both of them. That's like what they do. Instead of what's it, where they break the bread and the wine. What is it? Not the offering. Whatever that. There's a term for it. They get married. They bring rocks from the mountain. Maybe they stack. Maybe when you come of age, you have to collect your rock and you keep that rock with you, and that's like your remembrance of you having like overcome your first mountain, and you flattened your first mountain, and then when you become married, like part of the symbol is you stack them and you build your own mountain, and that is the might of your relationship. Oh my god, we're creating a religion. This is great. Do you think we can get tax exempt status yet? Do you think we have enough? Do we have enough to create a tax haven out of this? I feel like we're getting close. So cheesy. Yeah, most things in religion are. Most marriage rituals are. I do like the idea. I do like the idea of the coming of age one. One of the most important and rituals was the coming of age ritual, in which each individual was tasked with climbing one of the nearby mountains. Once at the peak, they would pick a stone and carry it back down as a symbol of them flattening their own mountains. Many on the outside looking in would view such wow, that's a weird place to add the T there, but that's okay. Many on the outside looking in would view such rituals as perhaps a little cult-like, But what religion doesn't look that way from the outside? The followers of Donatus would be the ones laughing when the rapture came, and only the followers found the earth below them, rising to the highest peak and delivering them to heaven. There it is. That's the rapture. That's what it all comes down. One day we will all be risen on the great mountain up to heaven to sit beside the throne of Donatus. I don't know, that one gets a little weird. We'll just leave right there. Perfect. Guys, I like creating religions. I think I'm going to become a messiah. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invent a new religion. What's something that we could convince people to worship? I mean, I think we're onto something right here, but Donatus already exists. I think we got to come up with something a little new. And we got to figure something out. And we got to, exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, how much until we can get ourselves tax exempt on all of those donations? That's what we really gotta aim for. I feel like worshiping the mountains is a little too archaic. I feel like we need something a little more modern. My thought is if we make a religion around Bitcoin and we talk about how Bitcoin is actually the digital manifestation of God, and that buying into Bitcoin is really buying into God, and that the more you donate, the more you help God exist and perpetuate in the world, and therefore it makes you more holy. I think that's kind of what my thought is here. I think it could work. Have you seen Bitcoin investors? Those guys are nuts. Sorry if I'm offending anyone who likes Bitcoin. I don't really actually have a whole lot against Bitcoin. I largely don't understand it. Blockchain seed faith. That's right. Blockchain is the seed from which the digital tree of life will grow. Just need a location, a creed, and a practice. Oh my god, I can knock that out in 20 minutes. Are you kidding me? Hold on, hold up. Public land for sale. Hold on. Let's see here. No, I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to give away where I live. I'm not prepared to blur everything out. So stupid. Everything in the modern day times is stupid. Be a digital space like this chat room. Oh, that's really getting up there. You know what we could do? We could really go old school. We could get ourselves like a Weebly blog chain, and that's where I put all of the scripture and all of the sermons so that they can be read. And we'll have it be read by Microsoft Mike, right? The old school. I'm not talking like modern day AIs. I'm talking the old school voice to or text to voice things that would always talk like this. Like every time, that'd be perfect. Register their churches in states. Yeah, that's true. I know there definitely are things like, isn't like Utah like got a building that's the location of like 1,700 different like businesses or something like that. I don't know. World building. Yeah, I am God. You worship me because I am the creator of the world. And when you die, you will ascend into Zaoria, and you will begin your true life in the world of Zaoria. There's big monsters, but there's magic, so it's pretty cool. So God, I'm going to hell. Going to hell so fast. I'm surprised God doesn't just like land a plane right on my apartment right now and just like get it done with early. This is how we honor it. Yeah, there you go. I like that. See, that makes it sound much more innocent, doesn't it? All right, let's hear. So what do we have here? We got temple was built to worship Donatus, a god of mountains and terrain. Within the temple, it was often said that the city of Minadala itself was built where a mountain once stood. It was said that Donatus wanted a new place for his worshippers to live close to his home in the mountains, so he flattened one of the fringe mountains so that they may build the city. Most view this as more of a metaphor than a literal story, but either way, it gave worshippers comfort to think of their deity living so close to their home. Generally, the worshippers within this group were of a humble and calm mindset. Frequently, worshippers would choose to be... Wait, hold up. Were of a well-grounded mindset. Right? Because it's talking about, like, earth and mountains. Well-grounded. There it is. I know that one's good. I don't need your validation. I got it. Frequently, worshippers would choose to be baptized in a basin kept at the church, said to be filled with water that I'm talking past tense, I should keep that there, was melted snow from the cap of the mountain that was flattened, kept pure and ice cold by Donatus' divine power itself. In reality, it was always kept so by holy magic, but the basin frequently had to be refilled as the soaked clothes of those being baptized would slowly lower the water level. I mean, just realistically, that's what would happen. We need to refill it. I can actually... Okay, I hope I'm not going to break any hearts by pulling back this curtain. But, I feel like most people actually probably understand this. At least most sane people. When I was doing food and water safety stuff for work, I once had to do a water safety inspection for a new church that was opening up. There was like it was one of them newfangled churches where everyone has guitars and sings. I'm sorry, that's like really dismissive and rude of me to put it that way, but that's what it was. But I had to do an inspection of it, and part of it was I had to do the inspection of the baptismal fountain because it was connected to the well, and literally the baptismal fountain, I'm like literally, it was a hose spigot that you could buy at the Home Depot. Like, it's just a hardware store spigot. In fact, they were going to try and use one that was even lower quality than the best ones you could get because it didn't have backflow prevention, which was a no-no. If you're on a public well, you have to have backflow prevention, so that way if you have, like, you know, tepid water and it gets under pressure and washes the water backwards, you don't end up with tepid water in your wells. So, you know, that holy baptismal fountain, it's just a hose. That's all it is. It's all the symbolism, which I feel like actually was better understood maybe 10 or 15 years ago, that these things are like symbolic. But I don't know, times they are a-changing, I suppose. At any rate, they would regularly partake in a form of confession in which they would view the path to redemption for their wrongdoings as mountains that could be made flatter by the grace of Donatus, should they properly repent and earn his assistance. One of the most important rituals was the coming of age ritual, in which each individual was tasked with climbing one of the nearby mountains. Once at the peak, they would pick a stone and carry it back down as a symbol of them flattening their own mountains. Many on the outside looking in would view such rituals as perhaps a little cult-like, but religion doesn't look that way from the outside. I want to add one little thing here. The important part is that the people were happy, and Donatus wasn't that interested in the people condemning one another for arbitrary things. So they rarely butted heads with other people within the city. Boom, there we go. Holy Day, do they have a festival or something? Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like their holy day would be in summer when it's easier to climb the mountain. And I feel like their festival would be maybe once a year they have like they have a festival at the top of one of the mountains. And they all go up there and they just dance and sing and have a good time. It's like basically they basically do like one of them church retreats that takes place at a campground, only it would be at a mountaintop. I feel like that's what they would do. Coincide with the ritual of redemption. Yeah. Like it would be like as a whole they would symbolically climb the mountain as a way to show Donatus that the people were maybe what they could do is like they each carry okay, so we have all of these rituals being of flattening things out, but like he was the god of mountains, he could make mountains reappear too. So maybe what they would do is they would each fill up a sack of rocks, and they would all heft the sack of rocks up the mountain so that like they get to the top, and that was them signifying their willingness to go with Donatus when the time came for them to ascend. Exactly. They build the mountain just like he would. And it's them willing to put in the labor required to build the mountain and earn their own ascension, right? It's like a proof that it's like their way to show like we are willing to help you, Donatus, in this monumental task of building the mountain to the heavens. To do something like that. I like this. I'm actually kind of growing rather fond of this religion. It seems very simple. It seems very simple and easy to follow, and I feel like everything very easily fits into a metaphor that really could be made to be not that insane if I weren't trying to make them seem like crazy people. If I were a little less dickish to the people I created. But how would I be a good god if I wasn't arbitrarily making people suffer? Oh, shots fired. How about that one? It's okay, I'm online. I'm in a safe spot. Religious people don't spend much time online. They're too busy doing things like soup kitchens and picket signs. Good and bad. Oh, excuse me. I apologize. Oh, man. I actually kind of really like this. I really like this. Let's see. I'm going to go through. Here's what I'm going to do. I know it's a little on the early side for when I would normally call it a stream. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and we're just going to make any sort of edits that I need to with the rooms that we've already done. But then I'm going to finish a little early because my throat is just absolutely killing me. I feel like in the past hour my voice has gotten notably quieter and more gravelly. So we're going to go ahead and edit some of these things to fit in with our new religion that we've created. And then however long that takes afterwards, we're going to call it a day there because I am absolutely loving this, what we're working on right now. But I gotta part of so as someone who is a very physically active person, who really pushes myself physically and mentally to a lot of limits. Like I started talking about earlier on the stream, talking about like pushing my limits and comfort and, going in and entering, the ring for a kickboxing fight and stuff like that. One of the really important factors to being able to do that is listening to your body and knowing when enough is enough. And I feel like I'm reaching that point with my voice. If I want to have a voice the rest of the day and tomorrow, we gotta wrap up here soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and edit these a little bit as needed, and then we'll call it a day there. But so room number 1. Entering this room, you see that it is currently being used to store various extra seats and cushions, likely for if ever a crowd was too large for the existing benches during service. Corner of the room, you happen to notice a small box sitting alone, covered in dust. By the lid to find it to be locked shut. Small keyhole suggests there may be a key around here somewhere. That's right, and so that's a collections box. Okay, that's perfect. That's great. Next one, looking into this room, see a simple storage room. There seems to be a large number of extra candles and incense. Various decorations for different holidays are tucked among the shelves in here. See a stack of collection trays and goblets likely used during service. Perusing the shelves, you suddenly notice that what you thought was some sort of oh, that's right, yeah, it's they find the snakes in there. As you look through the shelves, you find one of them with a collection of different icons, each labeled to represent a specific trait or function of the church. Okay, so here's where we can add some detail here. Labeled to represent, each labeled in some way that seems to relate to earth or mountains. And just add a little detail like that. We don't need to get over detailed. We're not trying to describe the religion to the players, more so give them tools to learn a bit about the religion if they're interested and they care about it. However, as you look, there seems to be one missing. Based on the label's icon is representing redemption is missing. That's perfect. I didn't really even think about that specific detail, but we kind of have that in there, right? That's part of what this religion is about. So that works out really well. You walk into the main worship hall of this temple. Remnants of pews lay strewn about. As you can see, there aren't any that survived this room. Lying among the rubble, you can see 2 massive lizards that are eyeing you quite hungrily. Yeah, that's fine. At the far end of the room, you see a large basin of water among the rest of the altar. As you approach, you can see that it is still miraculously full. The water inside is pristine and ice cold, almost giving off its own glow or shimmer. Seems the holy blessings of this water remain intact and ready for use. Yeah, so like the blessings keep the water pure and clean. It's just when people would baptize, that's what would lessen it. So that still makes sense. It still tracks. As you enter this tower, you can see that it has a staircase to bring you up to the 2nd story of this temple. Long, thick ropes hang in the center of this room from the ceiling, where the old church bells hang, waiting for the next time they will get to ring. However, you're not alone in this room. Lying on the floor is a large heap of 3 massive reptiles. Yep, okay, that's fine. As you peer around this room, you notice a chunk of one of the stone walls has an outline where the mortar to hold the stones in place has been chipped away. That's right, there's just like hidden stuff there. That's fine. In this room, you find a very dusty-looking prayer chamber based on the number of soft cushions and chairs scattered around. Perhaps this was once a prayer/cry room where parents could take fussy children in order to not disturb the parishioners. Yep, that's right. Behind you notice that something strange about the wall monument that hangs from the prayer room. Placed in the center of this wall decoration is a large stone based on the engraving. So that's right. The rune of bless. That's fine. That can stay as it is. As you enter this room, you notice a few worn out but still intact confessional booths. Even from the outside, you can tell that the interior of these booths is likely to be musty and filled with cobwebs. The room is largely empty. Grand stone construction. What might have been? That's great. Okay, and then that's right. That's right. Okay. Oh man, this is just accidentally perfect. Instead of one of the confessional booths, you find an engraved bit of scripture. It's a metaphor of life, being the climbing of the climbing of personal mountains, and death being the final step to reach the summit of ascension. That is just so accidentally perfect. I forgot that we even wrote that. That is so accidentally perfect. It was meant to be. It might be divine intervention. I think Donatus is looking out for us here. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think I've found a new god. I'm going to go shave my head and abandon all personal belongings and climb a mountain now. So, yeah, it's been real. I'll see you guys later. Bye now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But it's kind of funny to think about, isn't it? Oops, wrong one. Hold on. We need to go back to here. There we go. We took a tour of all of my overlays there. Oh, that's great. And then I like this. We can keep that. Next to it is a handwritten note in chalk that says, "One of those who never die," and that was left behind by our wizard, who is basically immortal. And then the last one. This room is largely empty, having been designed as nothing more than a small entryway into the temple beyond. The room is warm and bright with the sunlight that enters through the stained glass windows. Depicting tall, proud mountain peaks that are on every wall. Benches line either side of the room, and a few coat racks. That one up there, splintered with age, stand in the corners. It would be a very cozy and welcoming place if it weren't for the 3 giant snakes lying on the ground. Exactly. Okay. All right, cool. Minimal editing. I think that's good. And that is really convenient time, because I can really feel it. I'm so sorry to be ending soon like this, where I'm cheating you guys out of 20 minutes of stream here, but my throat is just absolutely shredded right now. So I want to bring us to just chatting. I'm going to do my sign off here. Thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. This was a really good stream. Not as productive in terms of the number of words written down, but it felt really good to be kind of thinking about this from a world building standpoint again. Like I say, I feel like I've kind of gotten a little detached from that mentality lately, and so it felt really good to kind of get there. And hopefully my little rants about, you know, why I write and the reason for writing and writing with intention and all that stuff, hopefully that meant something to someone out there. I don't know, maybe a little narcissistic of me to assume that, you know, my thoughts could be in any way, shape, or form meaningful to anyone else. But, you know, sometimes if you're just the right person listening at the right time, something can mean something and can help you out. So figured I'd go ahead and let the stream of consciousness flow out there. But either way, I appreciate everyone who stopped by. Regardless of if I'm remembering to do it for one reason or another, I always do have a really good time sitting here writing stuff. I love hearing about the ideas and the other things that people come up with. So many creative people stop by here, and it just makes it so much fun for me. So I really appreciate all of you guys stopping in. As of right now, I should be back for my usual schedule. My usual schedule is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. 11:30 a.m. Eastern time zone is when we start streaming. It's Mondays and Thursdays are when we do writing, Tuesdays and Fridays doing video gaming. And I've also started adding in a lot of evenings, but those are kind of infrequent, and it just kind of depends on what kind of availability I have in my schedule. So if you want to get updates about when I'm going live and all that kind of stuff, you can of course follow here on Twitch, but if you like other methods, there's my Discord server. You can get yourself connected there. I love talking about D&D stuff. I love hearing about other ideas that you guys have on there, and I also put announcements about when I'm going live. I also have my Twitter, EnviroStreams on Twitter. I put announcements about when I'm going live there as well. So if that's a more convenient way for you to stay connected, then go for it. I also do have an Instagram, EnviroBoyStreams. You know, I've mentioned that I do kickboxing, and, you know, just like a true follower of Donatus would, I do rock climbing. And, yeah, I do kind of stuff like that, and I like to post little videos of that. My most recent video was of me riding on a buddy of mine's homemade zip line. Very dangerous, very fun. I had a blast doing it. So you can see a video of me losing my head as well, not like literally losing my head, not like Ichabod Crane style or anything like that. Just like losing my mind is a better way to phrase it, going down that thing. But yeah, so I put stuff like that. If that sounds like it'd be funny to you, then check it out. And then I, of course, have my YouTube channel, EnviroBoy on YouTube. I post all of my VODs up there. So, you know, if you ever want to see other things that I've worked on, or if you want to catch a stream, but it's just hard to catch them live, you can always find them on YouTube. I put them up there. That's just for people to enjoy them as they please. So those are kind of the announcements I've got. Like I say, as of right now, I should still be sticking to my usual stream schedule. That said, I know I have a couple potential meetings that might get scheduled this week. So that could change. So pay attention to any of those methods of staying connected. I'll always put up a little notice if I'm not going to stream during any of my normal times. But we'll see how the week progresses. But that's what I got. So again, thank you so much to everyone stopping by. Again, really sorry I'm stopping a little early, but I can just feel it getting harder and harder to project my voice with every word. So I'm going to shut the fuck up, grab some tea, and rest my throat a little bit. Yes, indeed, that is what she said. And that's how I will leave you guys. Thank you for stopping by. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you cats on the flip side.